Greetings, everyone. Hope you are having a lovely Friday. I certainly am, because I am joined by two wonderful guests. More will be joining momentarily, but right now, I was joined by my own double in Tom, who is still muted. But we also have Kamran Pasha. How is it going?
It's great. It's great to be on today, and I'm very, very happy that we have lovely feminine energy to start off this lovely Friday. I'm finally satisfied on the show. You guys are doing the right thing.
Seriously started without me.
Yeah,
you were late.
Yeah,
you didn't even tell me you were starting yet.
I saw you were up, but yeah. Anyway, and here we have the masculine energy.
You really need to learn how to push buttons, dude.
Well, you always keep on saying I have to learn how to start and manage these things. Now I did. That's wrong too. So.
Well, but this is the thing of the boss. The boss doesn't have to push the button. The boss doesn't have to have minions to push the button, and the minion doesn't show up. The boss is just going to go. That's how it works.
There you go. But anyway, Tom, how's it going? Because even though you didn't get to push the button today.
Wow.
Whole day ruined, in other words. Okay. How about you? How are you
doing well. I'm always happy to be here with you gentlemen on a Friday.
Excellent.
And the chat is very excited to have you. I've already seen very nice comments.
Yeah. I also see people in the chat are somewhat less excited about Pinocchio, which is the one thing of all the Disney announcements that we have in the headline. But of course, there's plenty more to talk about.
There's a lot of stuff, and some of it is exciting. There's some exciting stuff. So we'll keep it very positive today, but we're going to be honest as well. So. Yeah,
exactly. So we'll be positive and we'll be honest. That's not necessarily quite as positive, but hey, that's how it is. But anyway, there's going to be
positivity thing.
What was that?
Speak for yourself on the positivity thing.
Well, we have some people are excited here. But yeah, we shall see. We'll take a look at everything that was announced during Disney Plus Day, which was today, and that's some positivity that Disney could be needing after their most recent fiscal results. And the one that's going to help us go through that is our good friend Valiant Renegade. How's it going?
Good timing, I guess. I just saw the link you sent. I'm sorry about that. I was busy. So how is everybody doing?
Told him he went early.
We're doing great, and the recent video we did together, you and I, this week, Valiant, I think it's been very well received. We talked a lot about things that are happening.
Yeah, I think it did. It's actually it's just a little shy of 2,000 views, which for me is great.
Yeah.
But no, it's been doing very well, and I put a video out this morning around 8:30 Central that I shot last night about the Disney financial report that came out Wednesday afternoon. So yeah. So, like I said, I just looked over the phone. I saw the StreamYard link. So yeah, sorry I was a little late coming in.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm thinking that we can probably start off with going through that, like the bad news that Disney have, before we go through the more positive, or at least how they're planning to spin this. And I have to say, I think that the timing was very strategic. And I think absolutely no coincidence. But we will get into that. So today is going to be Disney heavy, but of course there are other things to talk about as well. So we'll see what pops up over the course of the stream. We also have quite a few people joining us today. We have Mr. Dragon, who was the very first one to say greetings in the chat. We have Cowdies is here. Let's go, Brandon. That's a nice name. So yeah, Let's Go Brandon is here. Greetings, Let's Go. Duck Nation is here. Dragon Master 360 is here. Stephanie Janishek is here. Jason Gray, my countryman, is here. We have some lovely wrenches in the chat, like Natasha and others. So good to see you here. Willie Woodward is here. Speaking of wrenches, Lord Toth is here. Olaf van S is here. That 70s rock fan is here. D. Bud Martin is here. Donny Canoop is here. And so many others. Everyone represent. Also, we have like some French class with Sander Hammerschlag practicing his French, and 2 points for everyone who can guess what that says. I understand it, but I shall leave it to all of you. And we also got a couple of early super chats. Let's see if I can't find this up. Oh, I believe I saw a Cultured Casino here in the chat as well, which is awesome. If you have the time, I'm happy to send you a link as well. And then we were started off by Primer, who says for $20, hail Tom, Andre, Kamran, and chat. Knowing Disney's tendency to sue forced diversity and woke ideologies into their crappy remakes, I expect Pinocchio to be a non-binary Mary Sue that identifies as POW. Person of wood.
Don't give them ideas, my friend. Don't give them ideas.
Oh, actually, that's one of the few things that has a chance to be good, except for the fact that we're going to hear tons and tons of complaints about Pinocchio having wooden eyes because Robert Zemeckis is directing it. So,
well, in this the time, they're actually going to be like he can have like an in continuity reason for those wooden eyes. Although I will have to say, I think that they did the Pinocchio story pretty good with the Eternals. Because what is Sprite if not gender bent Pinocchio?
Well, and the other catch is every character is played by Tom Hanks, probably. So.
Yeah, probably. And then we also had Black Wolf Inc. saying for $5, I'm here to listen to Kamran spit his game and talk his ish. So yeah, that's going to be.
Actually, I've never been known for my game, but apparently I'm getting it, so it's good.
Proven right by quite the headline when Chapek basically said we're not out of the woods yet on this day and date business. It looked like so.
Yeah. And I don't blame him. I mean, how can he weaponize it if he's going to end it?
No, you don't. You exactly. Well, that's exactly the way it is. You need to use that as a sword when necessary. Every time a troublemaker gives you a problem, you use release strategy to get rid of them. It's very smart. Why would he ever put that gun away? He's got it now.
Yeah, exactly. So like, someone misbehaves. Well, maybe we're going to put their movie straight to Disney Plus. See how
reading this announcement,
for it.
Are any of these things going to theaters first? Because it looks like all this stuff is for Disney Plus.
Yeah, this was Disney Plus Day. So
yeah, so basically
going to be a Disney Plus
Pinocchio
emphasis.
movie and a bunch of these other things that would have normally probably went to theaters first. Like, why would you send a Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio movie to Disney Plus and Hocus Pocus 2? Like, those two just make no sense to me. Why they would bypass theaters altogether?
Well, let's go through every single one of them. Tom, I sent you a
I
link
got it here
to everything. But before that, we have another super chat from Sontar who says, on Sunday, Kamran described how things are. Tom described how they will be after Bob is done with the club. Their days are numbered, all of them.
I think that's fair.
No, that's a fair description. I do hope that what we're seeing are like the final death struggle. But we shall see. Sontar also said that Border Service thinks Hollywood movies are fine for duty-free imports, but AVNG's Blu-rays needs a 30% import duty because it's a threat to our industry. So yeah, careful with importing DVDs to Canada, evidently.
Well, careful about a lot of things in Canada right now.
Yeah, but anyway, Kamran, you were saying before I interrupted.
No, I was just going to say that, and we're going to talk about it. It's the numbers, and we've got Val and Renegade to go through some of the numbers here. The numbers have pretty much brought this issue to the head, right? Everything we've been discussing and arguing about for 2 years now, it's pretty much not an issue anymore. Now, at this point, the numbers are speaking. There is no choice but to get Disney onto a profitable track. Otherwise, everybody loses their job. Forget about Kathleen Kennedy losing her job. I mean, Bob Chapek's not going to survive if the numbers stayed in this direction, and he knows it.
Exactly. And with that, let us actually go straight into the numbers. And now Valiant Renegade, he has a great channel. The link for that will be in the description momentarily. And he also did a video breakdown, which was most excellent, on the numbers which were revealed yesterday, I believe it was. Valiant, can't you do the honors of going through the highlights? What was the circumstance in which numbers were revealed? And what numbers were revealed? And what did Disney say about them? And what do the numbers say about themselves as pertaining to the future of Disney and their current direction?
Well, just so everybody's clear, the report came out Wednesday after the market closed, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, which by the time Disney released their numbers, it was about 5 o'clock, 5:30 Eastern. What you have to look at here is a couple of things. As I state in the video, everybody has gotten so just hammed up on streaming numbers, like nothing else matters. Now, for something like a Netflix, where this is their entire line of business, certainly the streaming figures do make a difference. That is the sole operation of their business. Of course, Disney is much more multifaceted. They have a lot more arms out there doing many, many different things, but streaming is what people want to pay attention to because that's where we are now. Now, that being said, I did a video. I went back and when I did my video this morning, I referenced this previous video. I couldn't remember when it was exactly, as I was recording the one from today. But back on September 21st, I did another video. I found it talking about Bob Chapek basically was giving some forward-looking guidance at that point, cautioning everyone out there, hey, look, this is, everybody has these expectations that they're going to have this linear growth in subscribers each and every single quarter. That's just simply not reality, right? So they say we're going to have 250 million global Disney Plus subscribers by fiscal year end 2024, whatever it was.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that every quarter they're going to have 10 million new subs come in like clockwork. Now, what's going on right now is the same thing at Disney that's affecting everybody else. And we knew that this lag was going to happen. This is what we got this quarter is, you could call it a lagging indicator of what the effects finally now we're seeing it on the streaming impacts from the 12 months of pandemic lockdown, right? They couldn't produce any of this new content. They had a broad scope of new content that they wanted to make. 12 months shut it down, couldn't get it out there. So Disney Plus has seldom a new real big product or property moving onto it. That's affected almost everybody. Now, one of the things Chapek said on the call, which I 100% agree with, is that while a broad library of robust content, desirable content, is what keeps your subscribers that you already have paying their monthly premiums, it takes a lot of new content to bring in the new subs. Well, that's the one thing that Disney Plus, along with many others, have not been able to do. And the guidance that he gave during the call in terms of what it's going to look like fiscal 2022, which is what we're in now, just so everybody understands, when I say fiscal, Disney's business year runs from October 1st through September 30th. So they are already in 2022 for their business year. So when Chapek talks about by this time next year at the close of fiscal 22, that's what he's referring to as September 30th of next year. Disney Plus will be opening up between now and then in about 50 or 60 other new countries and territories. They are working on currently in production some 300 plus different pieces of programming, regional, most of it's a lot of regional content geared towards whatever some of the countries they're in. Now, granted, some of the countries, they're not all high dollar markets like the US. We've got 2 or 3 opening today in the next couple of days between Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea, which they're paying almost the same rough amount as we are here in the US, unlike India, which is paying pennies on the day or pennies on the dollar where we are. But over time, we're going to see Disney Plus add more advertising, do multi-tier packages. This is my supposition. This is where I think this is going in the next 5 years. And you're going to see premiums increase on the monthly subscriptions, but I don't think they're going to start pulling those triggers until they have a steady, constant flow of new content coming in to soften what would otherwise be a negative impact on existing subscribers. So that's kind of where we are. Look, the parks are coming back. That's their bread and butter. The live sports is coming back. They've got big deals with the National Hockey League and all this kind of stuff. Hulu is doing well. ESPN Plus is doing fairly well. Obviously, the division with their theatrical distribution didn't do so hot this quarter. No surprise. I predicted that one. And, that's going to be expected again in the fourth quarter, I'm assuming, or excuse me, the first quarter of their fiscal year, our fourth calendar quarter, which we're in now, because Disney really doesn't have any more big theatrical releases coming this year. People think Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is Sony. Spider-Man is still a Sony Pictures operation. You cannot conflate that with the MCU, even though it is quote unquote in partnership with the MCU. Basically, they're sharing IPs with each other. Disney will get a little piece of that pie on the Spider-Man movie for those tie-ins, but the lion's share of it is still going to be coming back to Disney. So the bottom line is for me, or excuse me, to Sony. The bottom line is for me is that I don't think Disney stock price where it stands now is gonna stay long. I think it's gonna settle out. We'll see it rock back to the 170 range, and it'll kind of hold there. I think if it will probably see at some point before the next financial report, we'll have something from Bob Chapek, just as we had in late September, where he's going to give some forward-looking guidance ahead of the quarterly report on Disney Plus numbers, especially once they get today. It opens in Taiwan and Hong Kong, and I think South Korea is in 4 days, or one of them is 4 days from now. But within the next week, those three territories are opening up. And I think we're going to see some numbers, released by Disney saying, hey, look, better than expected. We got 5 million new subs in those countries. And we're averaging, those countries are providing $6-7 average revenue per user versus India that's, 60 cents. So I think that's going to be a boon again. And then, you're going to have the market react positively to that. But I don't see anything from the report Wednesday afternoon that gave me some great cause for concern. I think everything that Bob Chapek stated, as far as I was concerned, was pretty much to be expected.
That's very interesting, and thank you so much for that analysis. While you were talking, we were joined by two others on this panel who are also qualified to have an opinion on it. Welcome, Culture Casino.
Greetings.
And
hey guys.
Mike the Mexican Iron Man. How's it going, gentlemen?
Very well for me. Is my audio coming through okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got you.
I could have slept in this morning. Jesus.
Yeah, you could have. There's three documents. There was the press release, and then there were the two financial reports. Valen, did you get a chance to read those three documents?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a copy of the fourth fiscal quarter financial report. In fact, I did that on my video that I put out this morning.
Okay,
and
awesome.
I did the earnings.
So I just, I'm sorry I came in late. I just didn't want to jump. So one of the things that I approached this. Can I go ahead and start talking now? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. I want to hear your insights.
Because I love Valiant's take. Valiant comes at things from the finance side. I come at things from a different vector, which is I come in. Well, sometimes as a fan, but I come in as an accountant because for those in the chat that don't know, I run an accounting and tax firm. And when these financial reports get released, I apply an accounting auditing perspective to them. And so I'm slicing and dicing three things. One, I'm listening to what they say on the call because that's marketing. It's also number two, I'm looking at all of the documents, the press documents, as well as the official SEC filings, because that is legal disclosures and that's the truth that lies behind the marketing. And three, I'm looking for things that are never mentioned or discussed in any of the press releases or on the call that are buried in the financial statements. Now, I've got some more slicing and dicing to do this weekend. I did read all three documents. I listened to the earnings call twice, last night, and I got a bunch of things to talk about right now. The only thing I want to start with is this, is that I found it absolutely profoundly interesting that there was a ton of good news, yet their stock dropped. And this is what happens, and I believe this goes right back to pre-Chapek days, where Iger set up this company where he basically says the future of Disney is streaming. The future of Disney is Disney Plus. We're going to take over the market, and yet they are still struggling for second place, way behind Netflix and subscribers. And as Culture, I'm sure is going to talk about in a minute, and I don't want to step on his toes. One of the things that's been great about what Culture talks about is he talks about the average revenue per user, ARPU. So when he talks about ARPU, which I'm sure Culture is going to get into in a second, is that this is a company. Let me tell you what is not getting any coverage. All of their cruise ships are back at sea. All of their parks are open. All of the cash flow from those operations are improved. This is a company whose stock price should not have dropped the way it did. This is a company that should have enjoyed a 5 to 15% increase. However, what was discussed in the PR documents and the filings specifically called out was how well movies like Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi, Black Widow did do, and they deliberately did not disclose any preliminary results and said that anything and everything related to the Eternals is going to be in the next quarterly financial report.
Yep.
So I think here, and this is where Brother Cameron being the soothsayer comes in, they made a point of basically saying, hey, we lost money on these things. These things have not returned their earning. These things have not made their money back. It is said point blank. They didn't need to call those things out. They could have buried this data in the overall division in which they are. But that's one thing. Number two is the fact that that they basically told people that the future of Disney is all about Disney Plus and all about subscriber count. Well, now they're not making those results, as has been well documented in Valiant's videos, well discussed with Cameron, Culture, and Midnight Sedge. So now it's kind of like this. It's like, hey, I'm going to be a runner and I'm going to train and I'm going to win that marathon, and you're barely struggling to keep up with like the middle of the pack. It's what's happening. So the fact that they're stocked in this is what you get, Iger, when you and your ego decide that you're going to bank on these Hollywood studios and your boy Kevin Feige and the club, and then you tell everybody it's going to be all about subscriptions, and you basically create the news that you're going to hang in. And the third comment, which is what I started with, is that there was a ton of great news in it, but it didn't matter. It did not matter. Their stock still went down. The ships are back at sea. That new hotel that they have is sold out for the first 4 or 5 months. The parks are all open. Cash flow is up. And guess what? Their stock still dropped. So,
well, right here, like this is the headline I was talking about. This is Bob Chapek basically saying that guess what, kids? Eternals and Shang-Chi did not work.
Nope. Yep. As Feige had told me to do.
Hashtag I told you.
Yeah, but so if we had the little seer animation, we need to get somebody to make us one for Cameron. Because he basically
Culture, do you own that?
Oh, hey, why not? I'll give that a shot. Absolutely. Let me say this.
No, fuck it. I want somebody to like full on 24 frame animation like Mickey Mouse in fucking
like a
Fantasia. Exactly.
That would be amazing.
Give me one of those turbans from those wow.
Well, I will.
I'll order you one on Amazon.
Okay, Douglas, if you're listening, Mr. Nails,
I don't know if he
you
does
heard the
animation,
challenge.
Yes,
you heard the challenge.
Yeah, but let's say this. Because now the way they've moved everything around into licensing and whatever else, I mean, they are hiding the film studios in a completely different division now, or they call it something different now. They took a $65 million loss in the last quarter when it comes to when these films released. Just FYI. I mean, that's out there in the report. But here's the other thing I wanted to speak to. VR, brilliant analysis as always, especially the video. If you didn't catch it this morning, I did. They're intending to add 100 countries, territories, whatever, this fiscal year, 2022.
I didn't think it was that. I heard Chapek say something about 50 to 60. I didn't hear 100. Okay. So.
No. It was, and it's actually.
I think they have another 100 they're going to expand into, I think, over the next several, but I think they have 50 or 60 for this fiscal year. You might be right.
Yeah. I mean, I think they intend to go from 60 to 160. That's and again, their other goal is everything that you said. They're shooting for this 2024, number that to be fully out there in the world, and I don't anticipate that they're going to hit it. I mean, they're again, you're right. I mean, let's not overreact or have a knee-jerk reaction to tepid growth in the last 2 quarters for subscription numbers, but they need to increase that pace. And you're right, they don't have a lot of content or they didn't have a lot of content in development But some of that was their own fault. They did have alternate means of creating things. They just are more expensive. So they drag their feet on some of that. But no, I mean, ultimately, you're right again, VR, that in India, they're getting just a few cents of ARPU, whereas in other countries like the United States and other places where there's more return on the dollar, those numbers are still falling. Because overall, if you watch the ARPU slowly fall off, it's been a steady decline since they launched and went outside the North American market.
They've got another
the
problem
investment
too.
relations analyst on the call, actually, Culture, since you bring that up, is a good point.
Yeah.
The ARPU did not fall as much this quarter. Of course, they didn't add as many new subs, and what they did add probably mostly came from India again. But it went from $4.16 a share to $4.12. Not nearly a precipitous a drop we've seen in previous quarters. However, they did on the call state that let's call it the ex-India ARPU. So all the annual revenue per user, average revenue per user for a Disney Plus subscriber, not including those in India, is north of $6.50. So you can see just kind of how big of an impact that market has on that average revenue per user.
Yep.
And for everybody else's edification out there in terms of comparison, remember that places like HBO Max still has an ARPU of almost $12. Netflix is over $14.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Disney Plus, who is by far and away the smallest thing out there. I mean, hell, Discovery that charges $4.99 a month is average revenue per user is over $11 or right at $11.
I watch Discovery every night.
Oh, actually, I saw some idea that they might be shooting for about $13 ARPU in the next quarter.
Let me translate this for all
it's
the
David
normies out
Zaslav.
It's because they can charge people for a low subscription fee, and the advertisement rates that they get are insane. So the people who are subbing at the ad level are getting a bunch of they're being fed these ads, and the return on those ads is significant for the advertisers and obviously for what David Zaslav's doing.
And I actually wrote about this on my Patreon a few days ago because I watch Discovery Plus religiously. I'm obsessed with their Bigfoot shows and paranormal shows. I watch something every night, right? And so I was watching some paranormal stuff last night. And what's amazing to me is I started watching because I have the ad service. I actually like to watch the ads, getting a sense of where popular culture is, right? So and also saves me $3, whatever. But watching the ads, I was shocked. I'm beginning to see in California ads appearing that are very politically conservative, like political ads. I've never seen that before. Ads. I saw an ad that was essentially anti-abortion, which I've never seen on television in Los Angeles, right? And it was coming after one of their popular shows. So I was like, these people are not only ad savvy, they're becoming ad inclusive. They just want the money.
Well, one of the things that happened, Cameron, in the report, and it was when the CFO started talking, and it's in the report, their ad sales are down this quarter versus last quarter. And they specifically cite that part of it is election. And then they say, quote, other stuff. So what you're observing right now is the fact of the matter that their ad revenue is down. And in order to collect cash, they've got to do things that they otherwise wouldn't do and take money from places that they otherwise don't have a decision but not to take, which is further evidence that Cameron is yet right again, that there's a changing shift in terms of the culture and the management in Hollywood, because this is money for something like that they wouldn't have on any network, let alone. And I'm telling you, Disney is right around the corner because they specifically said our ad revenue down. Also, guess what else is down? And this goes with the Let's Go Brandon crowd. Their revenue is down. Although they had increased revenue last year, their revenue is down in advertising for ESPN and although their subscriptions are up, but they're only up because they're bundling it. Is that some of their ad revenue is down on their ABC and other networks as well, which is very, very, very significant.
Well, and they're also
just to clarify. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say real quick, just what Mike's talking about with the whole political campaign stuff, because just so everybody out there understands, when they compare quarters, they're talking about this fourth fiscal quarter versus last fourth fiscal quarter for Disney. This time last year, which obviously was rife with billions of dollars of a presidential election year campaign ad spending that isn't here, of course, this year. So that's just so everybody understands what we're going at with there. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Culture.
Well, no, I mean, you guys hit it right on the head. I mean, they're in a weird position, but they've been hiding some other numbers that go along with that. The terrestrial consumption, linear television consumption of their products has gone down because people continue to cut the cord and look for alternate viewing ways to watch things otherwise, right? YouTube and other places. And it's been a problem for them, and it's going to continue to be. ESPN had considerable fall off, and they're still paying the price for some of the political posturing that they did on those networks. So I'm not sure that's going away. But I anticipate that both of you gentlemen are correct, because I feel like they are in a position where you will see, maybe by the end of fiscal 2022, a Disney product that has, different tiers of commercials, like, tier 1, you have commercials on everything and some stuff not available. Tier 2 would be, commercials, limited commercials, but you get access to the more premium stuff. And then obviously the commercial free tier. I think that's the only way forward for them, because again, this has to turn into the cash cow that Iger promised. I mean, and this is exactly what was happening with Disney, and all of us saw it coming. You can't prop up a company that's so diversified as VR talks about with streaming. It was a pipe dream. It was something to get the investors hyped over, because of the period of time that all this hype was happening was when they had everything shut down. As Mike mentioned, there were no cruise ships, there were no hotels, there were no theme parks. None of this was happening. It had global issues with, their major cash cows, which, again, believe it or not, Disney real estate and theme parks and the hospitality side, that's their constant source of infinite revenue, and it was shut down. So that's the biggest problem. Now they still have trouble with the theme parks getting enough staffing to operate the theme parks at full speed, or they are electing not to. They still have difficulties getting enough hospitality service folks to work in housekeeping and other areas. They're having difficulties staffing the ships. They're having difficulties across the board on these issues, because, again, they haven't changed some of the practices that would encourage people to be employed with them. In fact, like many corporations, they're shying away from being fully inclusive. I'm going to use their word against them, and allowing for, people who may have alternate takes on things to be employees for them. Anyway, it is.
Andre, is it okay if I talk about credit ratings real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, hold on.
I mean, it's relevant, isn't it?
I think it is.
I think so too.
So I'm going to bring up the Walt Disney Company's credit rating. And I'm going to just jump to the history here. One of the things I think that's also disappointing investors here is that they've got to do something about this debt load. I mean, essentially what happened here is, Iger wanted to celebrate himself as this great CEO. Yeah, there was talk of running him for president. There was talk of how he's so amazing. Anyone's amazing. If you qualify me for a loan to let me buy a mansion and let me buy a Maserati, and I get a bunch of credit cards and a bunch of debt, and I have all these fancy little toys like Marvel, Fox, and the list goes on, and I straddle myself with debt, that doesn't mean I'm successful. That doesn't mean I know how to make money. That doesn't mean I'm a great CEO. Here we have, they were at F1 in 2019, F1, F2 as their downgrade. That happened in May of 2020. Makes sense, right after pandemic kicks in. That downgrade rating was affirmed, and then it was most recently reviewed in September of this year, and then there was no action. That's what's called the STR rating, and the LTR has them still at A-. Now, you might say, oh, A-, that sounds great. Not really for a company like Disney, which is known for having at least an A or an A preferred rating. They were then... and then they came down to like A less preferred, and then they're still there. They've got to do something about this debt load, because there's only so long. I mean, essentially what Iger did is he built this. Okay, I'm going to build this amazing thing. Stock value goes up from when he took the reins. But as I said every quarter, Valiant said it, Culture said it, we've all said it when we do these financial reviews for the last year. Every quarter, we said there's only so long that this party can run. And the problem is that the credit rating was just reviewed, and there's still no action. I think what happened is if, and by the way, they're paying their debts, but the problem is their debt load is so ridiculously high right now and they haven't paid any dividends. They also haven't declared dividends. And for those of you who aren't investors, Disney as a company, you can declare dividends, but not necessarily pay them out. They have neither declared nor issued any dividends at all.
Right.
And something has to be done about this debt. Otherwise, this pipe dream is going to be further exposed because guess what? There's no way they're going to be able to get subscribers to pull them out of this.
Well, one of their activist stockholders that, controls a lot of other financial opinions told Disney, don't pay dividends for for a year. This is going back a year or so ago when he said, don't pay out dividends, to maintain the strength of the company. But in the middle of October, Barclays actually downgraded Walt Disney after 3 years. So a lot of these major players are not looking at a positive outlook. That's why right now Disney is trending a little bearish at the moment. Just FYI.
Well, I wanted to add one thing on. First of all, this is brilliant analysis. Everyone's watching. You don't get this kind of analysis anywhere except on this channel.
Yes, smash that like
with these people and on their individual channels. I mean, this is really wonderful stuff. And so, one thing I wanted to point out that I think some people in the chat have circled, which is notice that it's the last two financial quarters that we've seen this slowdown and this drying up of Disney Plus subscriptions, right? What happened the last 2 quarters, right? We had Gina Carano fired. Yeah, we had Gina Carano fired, and we had a bunch of, we had Loki come out, which some people enjoyed it, not everyone did, and people were disappointed. Is this what we're coming up with? And now we got this Archer thing coming. I mean, is that where we're going, right? So, I left Disney Plus after Gina had been fired. I actually had refused to even sign up for it, even during the early days of The Mandalorian, because I was still so angry over The Last Jedi. When I heard the day that I heard that Luke was back in a respectful, in fact, heroic way, that day I signed up for Disney Plus and I binge watched The Mandalorian 2 seasons, right? And I was very excited. I was happy to be back with Disney Plus. And then the day that Gina Carano was very disrespectfully let go or not renewed or whatever it was. Yeah. That was the day that I canceled, and I have not returned. I will return to Disney Plus eventually. I think they're back on the right track. I will do that to support Chapek, who I believe is putting it back on the right track. However, a lot of people won't. And so the last 2 quarters were self-inflicted gunshot wounds.
Well, you have a couple other things, too. First of all, we were lied to from day one. Mm-hmm. Bob Chapek said everything will be on there all the time, blah, blah.
Iger. That was Iger, actually. That was Iger.
What did I say? Who did I say?
You said Chapek. Don't blame Chapek.
Yeah, I don't Iger. Yeah.
He wouldn't do that.
He said everything was going to be on there all the time, day one, like blah, 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 blah. No, and then we realized, no, it's not.
No.
And then we've had nothing but lackluster announcements because they rushed this thing, like you guys pointed out, and they haven't had anything to push it. And the only things they've had to push it have been a couple of Marvel shows and The Mandalorian. And we really don't have anything to go on as far as like how big of actual hits they are in comparison to things like, say, Stranger Things or something like that. That's a much bigger show because, here's the thing. I've ran into more people who know who Baby Yoda is who've never watched Mandalorian that have actually watched The Mandalorian, right? Like, I'm sure you have the same problem, if not worse, with Marvel. Like, how many people are like, for instance, like most people probably had checked out since Endgame. I know my mom doesn't give a shit anymore, right? Like that's my point. Like the normies have checked out. They really don't care. Shang-Chi didn't make any damn money. Eternals ain't going to make any damn money. Black Widow barely made money.
And only because Chapek did that.
And only because of the Disney Plus thing, exactly, at this point. And I don't think that has anything to do with the box office so much as people are turning away from Marvel. I just don't think they give a shit. Right, we saw Venom. We saw Venom make a bunch of money right before Eternals dropped, almost embarrassingly so in comparison. And then we saw their stock just tank, and I mean tank, after that fucking meeting. They're the conference call or whatever you want to call it, the financial call, and it tanked worse than I've seen it tank in how long, Mike? It's been, I don't know, probably a couple of years since before the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean,
it dropped about 7% in after hours, and it was leading up. Basically, they went
Everybody
to
was panicking. That's all I know.
And before the call started, the numbers started dropping because, just so everybody knows, they release the actual, in this case, it's a 20-page PDF. They release the public financial report. It goes on the website, and then the call starts a few minutes later. So people that are waiting for it, watching it, they're seeing this, the institutional investors and those who are trading after hours, they're going to see that. And again, it's like I kind of opened the show with when I started the dialogue on what happened with Disney was just to, this is the part of the problem. And it's not just Disney that, so much of the reaction in the market and the stock prices is now so based around the damn streaming service. I mean, and the same holds true for AT&T. I mean, now we think of all the issues that Disney has and the debt load they've taken on. They have at least, love it or hate it, Disney at least has been, to a degree, obviously very successful with phase 1 through 3 of Marvel after buying that property. Fox is still hanging out there. We really haven't done anything with that one yet, right? Then, of course, they did the $4+ billion deal for Star Wars. They screwed up the movies, but at least that they've started to make money with it. As bad as you think it is for Disney, AT&T is really in the dumpster fire after spending all that money to buy out Warner, who they're now selling and getting rid of because it's been such a dumpster fire, and bringing in a guy like David Zaslav from the Discovery Networks to run the new spinoff that they'll still own 70% of.
Yep.
So, I mean, but they get hammered too if HBO Max doesn't meet its nut or doesn't quite meet these expectations, whatever they may be every quarter, regardless of how profitable they are. And HBO Max is actually profitable for AT&T is my best recollection, whereas Disney Plus is not. Disney Plus is still operating at an operating loss for
and
Disney.
It will.
They are not making money. Right. And Chapek even said, reconfirmed the initial projections that they figured profitability for Disney Plus would cross threshold somewhere around fiscal 2024. So we're still a good 2 years or so away from seeing that profitability happen. So over that time, to what Mike was saying earlier, this is the kind of stuff they have, this debt load. I can at least say at this point they're trending in the right direction. But again, I'm just not making any judgment until this time next year, once we see all this programming really start to pump in. Then let's see what the subs are doing.
But VR, do you see them hitting the guidance that they gave their projections at the end of fiscal 2024 of 230 to 260 million subscribers?
I think it's possible. Yes.
If they
have, this is key. If they have the content, they have to. If they produce the content, if they're producing the 340 some odd in development shows that they're doing right now for Disney Plus, and again, many of them you won't ever see here in the States because they're developing things for each regional market.
For Hotstar and other stuff. The Indian markets, that's the other market they're going to hit heavy with content, right? And then you have the Asian markets that will get content from those areas as well.
Middle Eastern markets they're opening this year, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. But also they're going to mismanage those markets because
for sure.
they're stupid. I mean, we'll talk about it at some point here in more detail. But for example, they have a Captain Nemo show coming, which I was excited for, and I'm still excited for much of it. They just cast a really good actor for it. And if people don't remember, Nemo was actually Indian in the books and they're going that direction, but they've changed the narrative, which is that just from the Disney press release or just from the trades article came out today, now Captain Nemo stole the Nautilus from the British East India Company. And I was like, no, he built the Nautilus because he's a genius, right? This Indian genius who was 100 years ahead of his time built the Nautilus. And yes, he was fighting the British East India Company. That's
not
in the book.
only that, by implication, he built a nuclear reactor.
Yeah,
correct.
Disney,
and we're like, well, no, we're going to have him steal it from the white guy because these morons aren't thinking this out, right?
If Chapek's going to be successful, the company has to be redefined. I'm going to go back to Valiant's comment from a minute ago and build on that. Great comment, Valiant. But if this company is going to make it and be successful, whatever it's trying to do, it has to make sure that it goes back to people understanding that it's a company that does a bunch of different things versus what they've done is they're trying to reposition. This is what this is what this moron did. What this moron did as a CEO is decide that he was going to take Disney and try to compete with Netflix and be like that. And that's what the company is going to completely retool to. That's not what this company is. This is a TV media company. This is a cruise ship company. This is a theme park company.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying before, Mike, is that all these studios took one look at Netflix and saw all the money they were making and go, oh, we got to have one of those, without realizing that all the money that they were making was from them.
Exactly, Tom.
They didn't stop to realize
it's like Andre needs a streaming service. Cameron needs a streaming service. Mexican Iron Man needs a rabbit chicken streaming service. Valiant needs a streaming service. Culture. Everybody needs
a streaming service would succeed. I think it would succeed.
There you go.
No, but that's my point is if you're like, okay, we make, say a thingamabob, right? And you have a place that sells all kinds of thingamabobs, and you see that place that's selling all kinds of thingamabobs is making all kinds of money, and you're like, well, fuck it, let's make a store for our own thingamabob. And then you wonder why nobody shows up to your store with just one thingamabob when they're still going to the other store with all the other thingamabobs. That's what you have here. is going to turn into that for every studio. And I see some people getting excited about some of the announcements here, but I'm not sold on a lot of this crap yet. I'm not trying to get.
But none of it's new, Tom.
Exactly my point. It's all kind of
everything they announced, we'd already known about for months.
It's all kind of surface level.
Hey, there's going to be a Kenobi series. Guess what? We heard about that a year ago. Woo!
3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Is right. That's right. That's right. It was 3 years ago when that thing went up, right, Eddie? Yeah, you're right.
Here's like the thing, because we'll get into everything that was announced today. Although I would say 9 out of 10 things was actually re-announced because they've been announced before. But yeah, we'll get
majority of this
that.
stuff has all been announced outside of a few animated series, which surprised to nobody. That's something they could have gotten going during the pandemic, right? Like,
oh, hey, by the way, did they announce the Acolyte premiere date? Oh no, they didn't. Never mind.
Well,
did they announce that?
All that Disney stuff. I'll make my last comment. Sorry, and then we'll do some super chats. But I thought it was fascinating that I think Tom and I were on was it Doomcock show? I don't know where it was. It was Sunday night, I think. When remember Tom, you asked me to go to my IMDb Pro, and I told you the slate was clean, and it hadn't been that clean last month when I looked. So.
Well, we'll get into this announced slate, which, like you guys said, is nothing really new and exciting outside of a few things, and I'd really put quotations around exciting. Let's grab a few super chats before we do that, Andre, because I know we had a few there that we don't want to get too far behind on.
Yeah, no, exactly. Let's do that. Let's get into a couple. Just give me 1 second here to refresh, because I want to go to the repository to see exactly where it was that we were. Because I do like that we now can go into all super chats, but it takes a long time to scroll through them. We still don't have the kind of repository that I would have liked.
And my apologies, I do have to step out for a little bit. I've
no
got
problem.
Some business to attend
absolutely.
to. I will swing back in a little bit later.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Take care. The one that we have here now, Spider Unlimited. He said for $5. Q4 failing. Simple. Kids back to school. Well, that's
part of it, but that's not
part of it.
Nearly as much of the.
I mean, the whole point of streaming is you watch it whenever you want. Watch it when you come home. I mean, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, this is all about the content, because I'm tired of going on Disney Plus and not being wowed. I mean, if you look at the way Netflix presents whatever they're showing, they're always showing you brand new things. And even if it's not something you're interested in, they make it seem interesting. And I don't think that they're doing that with the Disney Plus channel. You get on there and you're wondering why all that extra stuff like special features and things that you kind of look for when you're watching these movies, it's just not present on there in the quantity that it should be. And you have to go to YouTube to find some of this stuff or some other source. So once you've watched it, unless you want to rewatch it over and over again, it's not appealing, and it's not what I was hoping for from that channel.
No, that's exactly what I was about to say, is that they just don't have the content, right? There's not enough there to attract enough people to stick around. And I think we're going to find that out here with these lackluster announcements for the most part, as we get going here. What else did we have, Andre, for super chats?
Yes, we also have Deleted Scenes, who says for $5, Hail, Andre, Tom, Kamran, Valiant, Wrenches, and Chat. Disney Plus Day, let the games begin. And Smooth Jam California says for £5, Love Tom, but I can't understand how he's very pessimistic with Star Wars and yet still hopeful on Marvel. Marvel is more screwed going forward in Smooth Jam California's opinion. Tom, why are you more pessimistic as pertains to Star Wars than Marvel?
Use the girlfriend analogy. Come on, do it, Tom, do it.
Oh, gosh. The long version would be that. As far as Marvel goes, there's still possibilities, as Spock would say. And there's still places it can go. It has a lot more room to rebound, as to where Star Wars, to me, it all still leads back to The Last Jedi, and there's no fixing it at this point. I just don't see any way they can do that. And when, you know, they're not showing any care for what the fans want by not renewing Gina Carano and all this other business I could get into. That's a whole nother game. But like the girlfriend analogy that Mike's talking about is, you know, the original series is that original first love, you know, everything's great, everything's perfect. And then, you know, you break up and then you meet up again with the prequels. That's your second, you know, summer of love or whatever you want to call it. And things were not quite as good as the first time, but they were still decent. But you guys left on good terms. And then the sequel trilogy happened, which, you know, everybody thought we were getting back together. Not only that, it was going to be better than before. And it turned out to be one of the worst mistakes we ever made. And now, you know, they're dangling keys in front of us again. And here we go again. And it's like, I ain't about to get fucked again. Right. Like, it's just, no, I'm too leery about it. I'm not ready to just jump back in. The CGI Luke thing didn't do it for me. I liked Baby Yoda, but that's only goes so far. Right. Like, I mean, that doesn't fix anything. It's just, yeah, cute, but what else you got for me? And I'm not too sold on Obi-Wan yet and all these other things coming forward. And frankly, I'm just not so sure that the road ahead is going to be much better than what we've gotten. And that's kind of the same way I feel about a lot of the announcements we got today. I mean, I see some people excited about like the X-Men and stuff, but I'm leery as fuck.
Well, I think Tom represents a very substantial portion of the fan base and certainly of the chat. And he and I had a very intense argument about this. We're not going to rehash the argument. I think there are others like myself who are more hopeful. I mean, you know, that's it. We'll just leave it at that. So, but
if we also look at, you know, the Carano situation and how much it didn't just, I mean, obviously it hurt, you know, the franchise, you know, as far as I'm concerned. And if you really look at it, when they had that big, like that May celebration where we're supposed to sort of be celebrating how great Star Wars is and the fans get to celebrate, they took that away from us. That should have been sort of like a Carano fest, because even in the last few minutes of The Mandalorian, they showed her face. She was one of the most important characters in the show. And to kind of like remove that from the equation, you know, it was ridiculous. And I think that really hurt them. And I think a lot of people are still very upset by that. But financially, they missed out on a lot, because she should have been the person on the podium, you know, showing up, and everybody would be like, oh my God, it's Cara Dune. Like, she was so incredibly popular, but they didn't capitalize on that. And we missed out as fans. We missed out on a lot. And I'm still upset that I didn't get a chance to enjoy that. I should have had a show where she was on and she was showcased and they were celebrating how great it was. Instead, we got the opposite.
Yeah. And I will say this, I'm still like with Marvel, I'm not so sure, because, you know, you see things like this, right? Again, I'm still pretty pessimistic about Marvel. It's clear they're trying to erase the OG crew here.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw this.
Off and I mean, look, it's the Carano situation was a self-inflicted gunshot to the head, and it was literally a self-inflicted gunshot to the head by Miss Kennedy. And I, you know, I've said this on this channel for 10 months now. You know, she destroyed herself in the process. I mean, now we have a long process of trying to rebuild, because that was the steps. I said it back in February. That's the one step too far because of this damage, which 10 months later people are still angry about. And so, you know, it is what it is. This was inevitably, as long as Miss Kennedy had some influence, she was inevitably going to shoot Star Wars in the head. She was trying to do that from the beginning, and she got it done. I'm of the view that, you know, I still believe in Jon Favreau, and he's got a damaged Humpty Dumpty that he's trying to put back together, and I'm gonna be interested to see what he does. You know, but you know, Kathleen Kennedy achieved her objective, which is to shoot this franchise in the head. She achieved it. Now, I'm going to be one of the people rooting for him to try to resurrect it Frankenstein style, but, you know, not everyone's going to be on board with that.
Oh my God, they updated this between the time that we first brought it up and now. What the fuck is that?
What's going on?
That is the worst cosplay.
Oh my God.
We got Captain, we got Miss Marvel.
Yep.
Holy crap.
That's Miss Marvel.
That is terrible looking.
That's the Miss Marvel costume?
That's Miss Marvel.
That's Miss Marvel.
That is not right.
Now,
that's beyond reprehensible. That's insulting.
And I'm glad Kathy Najimy lost some weight, but she looks like my grandma.
But wait a minute. Okay, let's not have a knee jerk here to this costuming, right? Because we don't have the context behind it, where it is in the story, right? She could be cosplaying as Captain Marvel before she becomes Miss Marvel, right?
All right,
So they
I'll
shouldn't
give
be
you
releasing
that.
that image because it's a her. I mean, I agree with you. This could be there could be something very cool like this. Peter Parker's suit evolves.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the moment, Andre. I should reveal what I've been talking about, Ms. Marvel. Maybe this is the moment.
Yeah, this
Perfect.
may. Let's do a couple of more super chats
Okay.
first,
'Cause
and then we can talk some Miss
I've got
Marvel.
some stuff to say about Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, because everyone stay tuned, because you are about to get some very exclusive, never before heard anywhere else Miss Marvel rumors. Yeah, let's go with that. But before we get to those rumors, we have Douglas A. Burton, who wonders for $4.99, won't all this bad financial news be blamed on JPEG? Now, Mike, the accounting guy, JPEG, he just stepped in. Won't all this bad information that is the result of years and years of mismanagement from the previous regime, won't this all be blamed on JPEG?
No, I think JPEG. You can't blame someone for something that he didn't have a hand in creating, which is evidenced by JPEG's whole strategy and his and everything that he's talked about. If you go back, one of the things that would be fascinating, I encourage people to do. I did this before the show yesterday. I'm sorry, before the earnings release call. I went back and I re-listened to the audio files of the last 3 quarters, and it is fascinating to listen to the JPEG of today versus the JPEG when he first showed up, where he's kind of like, you could tell that Iger had walked back in the room because he's kind of articulating some of this, crap that he doesn't really believe in. No, you can't. That would be like, you bring in a new star baseball player and you're blaming them for the fact that the Oakland A's didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah, pretty much. That about sums it up. And then we have Adrian Nazaruk, who sent us a £3 super sticker of a little hamster or something that's looking excited, but thanks so much. And Sidebook VR wonders, anyone watch Apple's Foundation series? Who thought mixing dry golden age sci-fi with dull modern version of 80s daytime soap opera and cash was a good idea? I've only seen the first episode so far. I have to say that obviously it's different from the book, but so far, one episode in, I kind of like it, but we'll see how it progresses. Anyone else seen Foundation?
I've been watching it, and I guess I'm up to episode 7. I think it's an interesting twist, but it's not like the book, so I'm disappointed that it didn't follow that more.
I never read the books. I've seen the first 2, and I just haven't had time to keep going because I've been so busy.
Well, yeah. I haven't seen it. I have Apple, which I don't think I've ever watched anything on Apple besides like a documentary in which I appeared, which is why narcissistically I got Apple in the first place, right? I appeared in the Dear Spike documentary. But I love the Foundation books. I think they're incredible. And so, it's disappointing for me to hear that they're not trying to do anything with that mythos. Granted, those books cross within each book. You jump forward hundreds of years to new characters. They're essentially short stories combined together in this world, right, into books. But you could pick one of those short stories and pick one of those periods and those centuries and stayed with it for a while. That's what I would have done, but they didn't ask me. So,
Well, they tried to keep a narrative thread together, with one creating this unifying character, but that was bad decision making.
Yeah, clearly. And then Callum Lyle just simply states for $2 Kamran of the Third Eye. And Smooth Jam California says for another £5, also hail Kamran Pasha. His coverage on the Chapek/Fakey saga has been fascinating to follow. Really enjoy hearing his insights into Hollywood. Well, stay tuned because you're about to get much more of that. Gonna run through a couple of more super chats and then we'll get into exclusive Miss Marvel revelations. Callum Lyle also says for another $5. Off topic, why do you think in all media is promoting toxic or abusive relationships like Rey and Kylo and others, like in that bad She-Ra show? Also, basically, what he's asking is why is everyone in media promoting really horrendous relationships, as we've seen some examples of? Well, my answer to that is because these writers write about what they have themselves and they think it normal.
Yeah.
Well,
anyone have anything to add to that?
That's part of it. And also, this current stage of writers is not only disconnected from reality, they're attempting to mold reality in a very destructive way. So anything that deals with basic human relations is being screwed up, right? Race relations are being screwed up. Identities are being screwed up. And now, would it shock anyone that that human dynamics and relationships, romantic relationships, sexual relationships are being screwed up? Of course, because that's the sort of pathological agenda behind all of this, is to essentially deconstruct human behavior in a negative way. We've seen that for the last we've been going through the last decade of essentially cultural Marxism, and it's all about deconstruction. And so that's where we are. And it's one of the reasons their earnings report isn't good. Nobody wants this garbage.
Yeah. And then a couple more here before we move on. Our good friend and my fellow countryman Terje Tiberius Mørk says for 50 Norwegian krona, I love Disney Plus. Between the content aimed at kids, geared at kids, and all the stuff I'm interested in, I'm a happy customer. The audition of IMAX enhanced Marvel is genius. So yeah, there's some happy campers. Excellent. Glad people enjoy it. Luca Rox says for $5, completely unrelated, but I was wondering if Kamran ever saw the Jinn-based horror series called Wishmaster.
Back from the 80s. Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it in the 80s. And people keep telling me I have to go watch it. I don't know if any of you guys saw it and enjoyed it. I know it was popular. It did. I hear it.
Yeah, 90s. Tom said 90s. 90s sort of
90s,
series.
whatever. I didn't see it. And maybe
well, very early, so practically late 80s.
Yeah, it was throughout most of the 90s, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, I have not seen it. And maybe I should. Maybe I should go back and see it.
Yeah.
And box set just got released, but yeah.
I'm sorry, what just got released?
They just did a box set, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And Anthony sent us 50 Danish krona saying, Hei, hilsener fra en skotte I Danmark. Meaning, greetings from a Scotsman living in Denmark. I love you all. Thanks for the great content. Oh, thank you, and thanks for watching. And everyone, smash that like. And help share the stream, helps get the word out, because you're about to get exclusive Miss Marvel revelations. Before that, final super chat for now. All other super chats, none have been forgotten. We just haven't gotten to them yet. So we'll get to every single one. Just if we haven't gotten to yours, just be patient a while longer. We'll get there. But for now, John Apocalypse says for £8.99 British pounds. Hey, Kamran, are there organizations that fund woke media? This is something the Midnight Search crew have suggested as to why Kurtzman still works on Star Trek and why Marvel and DC are still making new comics. And yeah, this is something that I have been saying, that part of this is because of funding, because you have some investors out there that want to spread a certain message, and these investors aren't necessarily interested in a return on their investment. Well, they are, but not the direct financial return. So, Kamran, this is what I've been saying. Is that something that you are in agreement with, or am I making it up?
Well, I mean, there are certainly investors we know that have political agendas. There are, the people who own their funds have political agendas. We know that. But even without that, it doesn't matter, because I work with these people. They don't need, some boogeyman, external force. They've got, this system has been woke for the last decade that I've endured, right? And it's always been progressive in the 20 years that I've been there. The first 10 years was just sort of loudmouth liberals, and the next 10 years has been loudmouth liberals with a nasty streak. That's all it is, right? And those are the people I work with. So it is the culture of the industry. The difference being, in the last 10 years, profit has been removed from the equation. So in the first 10 years I was there, people put in their political ideology, but they restrained it because they knew there's only so much that the audience was willing to swallow. And in the last 10 years, it's like we're gonna put a fire hose in the audience's mouth, and they're gonna take it, right? And the end result is the earnings report that we're seeing now. So that's there. There are people out there who are. I mean, I've been to like parties of billionaires, right? Who are clearly very influential politically and who are very, very progressive. Their goal is, these guys. Their goal is very simple. All communism is essentially feudalism, right? And so it's basically a small group of rich people, and everybody else is poor, and is essentially owned by them. That's why you're now having the ideology that's being promoted by the World Economic Forum and others, saying that you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's pure feudalism, right? And so I've been in the days when the club actually let me in. I've been to some of these parties at billionaires' houses and whatever, and these are people that really want the rest of the world impoverished, and they will use their money to keep themselves at that level of Olympus and not have a middle class. But even without them, you've got so many people who follow sort of unthinking Marxist ideology on the mid levels because they're just useful idiots. They've always been there. They've been there since even there. You go back to the 1940s. Some of the biggest stars. And it's now coming out in their later biographies. We're working, we're not only anti-Nazi, which everyone was in the 1940s. They were also working with the Soviet Union, right? And so it's been in Hollywood for a while. It's not just the Red Scare. It's been part of our culture because a lot of artists, they don't think this stuff out politically. They just don't. I mean, they work from a place of emotion. They're not, and so they're just motivated by what sounds good, and so they're easily manipulated.
Yeah, that about sums it up. And with that, let us get into the exclusive revelation you were promised. What we're seeing on screen right now from Variety is a number of still pictures. One of them is from Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, of course, is a series where the character has at least some power in common with Captain Marvel. And it's based on the, let's be honest, not quite fan favorite comic from just the last few years, featuring a character that should be fairly popular, that may have been started with the best of intentions, but the execution has always been a little bit so-so. So Miss Marvel then is Kamala Khan, the first Muslim superhero. And she will be getting her own series, which we learned only, I believe it was yesterday or in the last 2 days, would be delayed until, as they said, unspecified time in 2022. So it's been pushed back a little bit. Now, someone who knows a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes here and why the series was delayed is our good friend, writer, and producer, Kamran Pasha. So take us through it. What's going on?
Well, so I wrote about all of this on my Patreon a couple of days ago. Sort of, for those who are Patreon members have already sort of gotten a pre-exclusive of it. And I'm going to be a little careful of what I say here. The reason is that I have several young writers that I mentored who are writers on the show. These people that I've been mentoring for a couple of years. And I was very happy for them when they got on the show. And then I heard some stuff that was going behind the scenes, and it's kind of sad for me because they were put in a very unfortunate situation. So I'm going to be as straight as possible while also respecting them, right? Because they're not in control of what happened. But the background is, people know I'm Muslim, I'm Pakistani origin, and so when the initial comic of Ms. Marvel came out some years back, I and many members of my community were very excited. And some of the earlier, I didn't follow the whole arc, but some of the earlier, comics that I saw, I liked, and it felt like it was actually showing a real Muslim teenager, a real person. And it was humanizing and it wasn't propaganda. I didn't follow the comic much after the initial issues, but my understanding is some people really enjoyed it, and then it took a political turn that they didn't like. You can comment about that in the chat if that's true. That's certainly what I've gotten feedback on. But I was happy to see an effort after what I've endured 20 years of a very aggressive negative propaganda effort within the industry towards people of my culture, religion, etc. And so I was happy for that. And then when the show was announced, I was happy for that too, initially, and especially when several of my young friends were like, "Oh my God, I got hired as a young writer on the show." I was like, "Good for you." So I've been rooting for the success of the show, and not everyone has been. Certainly not everyone in the chat I can see has been, and that's completely fine. But I've been rooting for its success. And for some time I've been getting information that made me wonder whether it would be a success. And I've kept it back, but now that it's been announced, and I kept it back again out of respect for my friends who are writers on the show. But now that it's been announced, been delayed, I think it's time to talk about some of the issues behind that delay and what it means. So the biggest intel that I got, which I don't think anyone knows because I got this directly from a friend of these gentlemen. So if you know, the pilot was directed by two very up-and-coming filmmakers, Adil and Bilal, who directed Bad Boys for Life, which I really enjoyed. It's a very entertaining movie, very much in the line of the first movies. It wasn't woke in any way. And so they are French-Moroccan, and they're actually sort of like me. They're sort of practicing Muslim, devout practicing Muslims in Hollywood. It's not very common, right? They don't drink, and they don't really hang out in the Hollywood scene, which is very strange. But they made a very entertaining movie with hot chicks running around in bikinis. They didn't try to put their personal religious beliefs or ideologies into it. They just made an entertaining movie, and that really got them onto the attention of people. Now they're doing Batgirl, and we can talk about Batgirl at some of the points. Some people don't like some of the casting choices. That's another conversation. But from everything I've heard about them, I don't know them personally yet. I'm hoping to actually be able to work with them in the near future. But from everything I've heard, they are people very similar to me. They are Hollywood entertainers. They have their own personal ethics, and they try to just want to entertain the audience without brainwashing them in any way. So that's who these guys are. And so a very close mutual friend that of these two gentlemen who directed the pilot for Ms. Marvel said to me recently, he said to me they had a very bad experience. Again, this is not coming directly from those two. I don't know those gentlemen yet, but this is a friend who I trust very much, who's also giving me other information that's proven true about what's happening in their career. And so he said they apparently did not have a good experience in the show. What he told me is that when they got the original pilot, which we'll talk about who the people are that they chose to write this show, at least create the show. They got the original pilot and script, and they're like, and they'd been hired. Oh, good, we're gonna get these two Muslim guys to do a show about Muslim superhero. Great, right? So they get the script, and they're like, what is this crap? I mean, these guys are storytellers, right? They're good storytellers, and they're like, the script doesn't work. We're not going to do this. And so they did a heavy sort of note/rewrite of their own and gave it back to Marvel and said, we'll film this. So let's get to business. And so, they assumed that was what's going to happen because everything proceeded forward. And then they showed up essentially for pre-production of the pilot. And they got here's your filming script. And it was essentially the original script that they had rejected, right? With maybe a few adjustments. And they're like, what is this garbage? We told you we're not going to do this, right? And so what I've been told is they put their foot down and got a lot of the changes that they wanted because Marvel, it'd be really bad PR if those guys left the project. It'd be really bad PR, right? And so Marvel said, all right, fine, whatever. We'll give you what you want, right? So they apparently filmed a pilot that's probably going to be a good pilot. They got in a lot of what they wanted. And I think they filmed one other episode of the show. But my understanding is that their interactions with Marvel and everyone in this process really left, from what I've been told, and they may deny it. They may say that's not true. But what I've been told is it left a bad taste in their mouth, and they don't want to ever do this again. They don't want to go back to the show. They're off. They have Batgirl, other stuff to do. And they were just like, look, they didn't leave with a lot of respect for this production. And we have to look at the production. Like, again, I don't know these people, but I know, I can talk about their public persona. So we've got the official creator of the TV series is a Pakistani woman. I'm a Pakistani guy. So people will say you're attacking your own community. I'm just sharing my perceptions. So you've got this young woman who I don't know, Bisha Ali, who's British. And she's a young Pakistani writer there. She's about 30 years old. And frankly, and again, I'm just talking what we know publicly, she doesn't have a lot of credits. I mean, she worked for, I think, some small UK comedy, but she didn't really have any credits, certainly no credits to assume that she would be able to show run a TV series. And in the last few years, I've worked on shows where people with, as part of that woke agenda, people that were fitting the bill, especially, people that were minorities or female, but with no experience would be given showrunner jobs, right? And be the boss. And I worked in a situation like that. It was utterly disastrous. Somebody no experience was suddenly given this role, and it just led to complete chaos, right? So I've experienced that directly, what happens when you put someone without experience and just put them there because they serve the face, that you need. And so they needed a Pakistani woman for a show about a Pakistani woman superhero. So they got a Pakistani woman. There are a lot of talented Pakistani women writers out there, but they went with this one, who doesn't really have any credits. And then, of course, there was this controversy last year when, not surprisingly, people went through her social media and found all kinds of, anti-white male stuff, which is,
to be fair, what they found was that she had deleted thousands upon thousands of tweets.
Yeah,
and apparently people were like saying that this was basically tantamount to eliminate all white men.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the kind of nonsense people of that age, and certainly, when I went to Britain, I studied in Britain. I studied at the University of Edinburgh. I did an exchange there. I went to college here in Dartmouth in the United States, and we did an exchange program. I spent a semester in Edinburgh, which I love, one of my favorite cities in the world, and I've been to London many, many times. And the cultural experience of Pakistanis in Britain is very different than those of us raised here. We're sort of not really a relevant cultural factor. But where in Britain, the Pakistani community and the Indian community is very much, we talk about Captain Nemo, right? It's very much the decolonized minority. And there's a lot of hatred and resentment. I felt more bigotry in London on the tube for being just a Pakistani guy sitting on the tube than I've ever felt in the United States being a Muslim guy, even after September 11th. I felt open hatred there. And and so as a result of that ugly, ugly colonial hatred for this minority, which is similar to some Arabs in France and others experience, right? But this is what the Indians and Pakistanis, in particular Pakistanis, they have very specific slur words for Pakistanis in Britain, right? Experience. You can imagine that in response to that, there's a lot of anger in return, right? And so there's, and unfortunately in the latest generations, there's a lot of woke anger, because that's where the young people put their feelings of alienation and they adopt this, anti-colonial, and which becomes anti-white people, kill the white people kind of stuff, right? So this is an ugly dance of bigotry meeting a response of bigotry. And I've experienced it in Britain, so it's not shocking to me that Ms. Ali has this kind of stuff. That's what a lot of young people say. It doesn't excuse it. I don't say this kind of stuff because I don't believe this kind of stuff. I don't believe it on a personal level. I don't believe it on a religious level, that you can generalize people like this. It's wrong. But this is the kind of woke garbage that people are saying nowadays, and certainly in that community. So that's not a surprise to me. But of course, they chose her, and she had to then hide them because it creates a PR nightmare for Disney. But it's already out there. And then you have others that are on the production that certainly in the Pakistani community, some people would consider very problematic, right? Yeah, like I said, I deeply respect Adil and Bilal. They're like me. They're religious Muslims trying to also be normal people in Hollywood and entertain the audience. That's apparently our shared agenda, right? But they are not like most of the people I've met. Most people are like the ones I'm going to describe next. So another person that apparently directed multiple episodes, I think 3 episodes, is someone who is very controversial in the Pakistani and the Muslim community, a female director named Sharmina Obaid Chunai, who won the Oscar and Emmys for she's made a variety of documentaries that all essentially, about horrible things in Pakistan. And there are bad things that happen in Pakistan, like there are bad things everywhere in the world, but all kinds of terrible things. And her documentaries are all about how bad the situation is in Pakistan for women, for this, for that. But she never focuses on any positive documentaries. I mean, Pakistan has one of the biggest charity networks called the AD Network, which is one of the most incredible charity networks I've ever seen in the world. And it's an incredibly effective grassroots charity network that saves orphans and does all these things. She's never done a documentary on that incredible work, which is literally up there at the top, and it's coming out of Pakistan. She'll only do these documentaries because they win her Oscars, they get her Emmys, and she's become a celebrity in the Hollywood elite. Like, this woman she's a documentary filmmaker. Now she's given to direct a drama or superhero drama. There's no experience that would suggest this documentary filmmaker would be able to do this, scripted drama, multiple episodes. But she's part of the club. And I've been to parties where she's been there, and I just generally say, you go do your thing, I'm going to go do my thing. Right? I've never even talked to her because I don't share her vision of Pakistan, which is very, very negative. But it's very popular in Hollywood because, ugly rapist killing Muslims is good for how Hollywood sees it, right? And people like me are a problem for it because we're normal. They don't like that, and they don't want to normalize it. They like this negative Muslim image. That's very much part of the Hollywood agenda about how you deal with this culture. So she's been given multiple episodes. So that suggests somebody, again, who has a political agenda, very, very clear political agenda about the Pakistani community, directing it. And then you have another director, I believe her last name is Ms. Menon, Menon. I don't really know her very well, but she's an up and coming filmmaker. I don't know who she is, but I looked her up, and then her big claim to fame is she did a small indie film which is called Farah Goes Bang, which is about a Muslim girl who basically is on a road trip to lose her virginity and gives her virginity to an American soldier, right? While her friends cheer her on. So that's clearly not your typical Muslim family or culture. That's not, we're still even those of us raised in the West, even those of us raised in Britain, are still comparatively sexually conservative, right? This kind of stuff isn't normal. I'm sure it's increasingly happening in the younger generations, but it's still not something that's normal in the Muslim community. So to do this kind of story was really offensive to the Muslim community. What is this? Well, you're normalizing, this woman just going out and, losing her virginity to some random dude. And is this what we want our children to be like, right? But that, of course, makes her beloved of Hollywood, which doesn't like that Muslims are sexually conservative. We're one of the few traditions that's still holding on to that, right? And so that's something that Hollywood's been trying to break down. So, of course, they're going to promote her. And she's going to go from that to directing an episode of a major Disney Plus show, right? So you can see that the choices that are being made here are not being made with any desire to do an accurate
kind of
or
like Chloe Zhao.
Pardon me? Well, yeah.
Kind of like Chloe Zhao, yeah.
Chloe Zhao. I mean, and so they're choosing the filmmakers that will serve their agenda, or certainly the ones that Mr. Feige chose, because I don't know that had this show been put into production now, that it would have been the same elements, right? And so you've got this situation here. And this was, from my understanding, filmed starting November of 2020, and yes, even with a pandemic and everything else, all that's going on, my understanding is the show has been pretty much in the can for months, right? And so everyone is expecting to be released sometime this year, by the end of the year at least, because it's been in the can for at least 6, 7, 8 months maybe. And so they haven't released it, and now it's being announced for end of next year. That gives us a full year, much like Indiana Jones. And I'm going to think that if the
sounds to me like they're going to rework it. Yeah,
correct. I mean, they've looked at it and they go, this isn't going to work. This is probably going to create controversy we don't want, right? It's probably going to alienate, especially if they want Indian subscribers. Muslims are 20% of India. That's like 200-300 million people in India, right? I mean, it's huge. You don't want them going, what is this garbage, right? Already that image, like you saw people chat reacted when whatever the origins of that image was that they're promoting, with that costume. I mean, it's more ridiculous than the costume that they've made that poor, girl wear on Batwoman, right? On the new Batwoman, the African American girl, which is this ugly ass costume. That's better. That's better than this thing, which is comically ridiculous.
Well, to be fair, I guess it is supposed to be like a Halloween costume from the picture.
Why promote it? Why use that as your visual imagery?
It was stupid.
Idiotic. Because it's repulsive to me. Now I don't want to watch it, right? Even if I didn't have this intel, I'm like, what is this garbage? PR and advertising is meant to bring people in. This is going to turn off people, even in my community, that supported this character and wanted this comic and whatever. They're like, what is this crap? Because she looks like a 5-year-old child in that. And it's this comical, yes, whatever the origins, but that's not the image you did put out there. Put out the image of her in full blast, whatever the Ms. Marvel costume is. So I'm presenting all of this. And like I said, I have friends on the show. I'm sure they're not going to be happy if they see this, because obviously they want their show to succeed, right? And I wish them success. I'm just sharing what I've heard. I hope my friends on the show were able to at least get better scripts than Ms. Ali was, probably, because, I mean, my friends on the show who are low-level people on the show have more credits than she does, and she's the alleged creator, right? So they have more experience than she does. So I'm hoping they were able to at least pull some of this back, but this is what I heard.
Well, Cameron, if it's been delayed a year and they're still working on it, then that means they're still working on it, which means
they're working on it. And,
means they're probably getting a chance to fix it, perhaps.
But I'm available, guys. You want to call me? Notice,
Cameron,
Pakistani show. Nobody. I work for Disney, and I have 20 years of experience at the executive producer level. Right? I can run this show. There's a reason Kevin Feige didn't want me. This is before I was making a big mouth of myself, a loudmouth on YouTube, because I know when the show was being developed and it first came out, the news that they were going to do this thing, I contacted my agents and said, "You got to put me up for that, right? I would love to do this. I'd love to be the showrunner on this thing, right?" And I got word back from my agents at the time. Oh, the people at Marvel, absolutely, we talked to them. They absolutely know who you are. This is before I made a name for myself on YouTube. It's just know who you are professionally, right? They absolutely know who you are, but they're going to go in a different direction.
Yeah, they need
who I was. They're like, we're not going to have this guy come in. He won't listen to Feige. This is
right. You got a dick.
No, it's because you're not malleable. You can't be led down the path that they want. I mean, and this is, you can see it in every thing that they've been doing for the last 2.5, 3 years specifically, has been bring in somebody who's inexperienced, not quite ready for the job, but will listen to whatever we tell them we want. And, so even if it doesn't fit the character, even if it doesn't fit the history of the character, whatever, is this is what we want you to do with this. And so you're going to end up with this, which is again why they rushed through all the old material to get to the new stuff that they'd already had a cultural influence over, to tear down all of the heroes and bring up these weird iterations of others. Again, Cameron, what you're suffering from, unfortunately, and I think it sucks, is just because you don't play ball. You're going to stick to your principled person, and that's a good thing.
Well, and they were shocked when apparently Adil and Bilal turned out to be principled people, because they don't expect that. These guys made Bad Boys 3, right? So they thought these guys are popular filmmakers. They're like everyone else that I've mentioned who's like, oh my God, yeah, please, I'll do whatever you want. Give me the Oscar, give me the show. They're like, no, I'm going to do this crap. Right. And they were shocked by that. To the point that when the initial notes were given, they ignored them because they assumed they can't be serious. They can't actually be talking back to us.
Well,
so God, just ignored the notes. And then they're like, well, we're going to walk off the show if you don't fix it. Right.
God bless their attitude. Right. God bless the Russo brothers for standing up. God bless these guys that you're talking about for standing up. And God bless you for not being able to be bought and sold so easily by Hollywood. Good job, brother.
Thank you, my brother. And God willing, like I said, I got some stuff to share, which I think you know about and Andre knows about. And I hope to be able to share that in the near future, which will hopefully put me on the track to go, all right, guys, I got my own thing going on. See y'all later.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the rest of these announcements here.
Please.
First off,
and I don't think that was a waste of time, my friend. I think that was speaking from the heart. So I don't know.
No. Like people have been waiting for 90 minutes for us to get into this list. So let's do this
about
now.
30 minutes myself. So
in addition to all the classic stuff that's already been dropped, like Shang-Chi and Jungle Cruise and all that kind of stuff that we already knew about, here's the upcoming announcement slate. Obi-Wan Kenobi we knew about. X-Men 97. Which is supposed to be an animated update picking up from the 90s series. At least that's the way they're presenting it. Moon Knight, another thing we knew about. She-Hulk, we knew about. Miss Marvel, we knew about. Agatha, we knew about. Spider-Man freshman year, something I think we kind of heard something about, but this is a new animated series, follows Peter Parker on his way to becoming Spider-Man in the MCU, which sounds like it's going to be a prequel, basically. So now people will finally get to see a lot of the stuff that they were saying they didn't get to see before. So hopefully that will appease some people. We've got Echo, which is Hawkeye will introduce Alakwa, how do you say that? Alakwa Cox as character Maya Lopez, aka Echo, a deaf Native American hero who will get her own Disney Plus series. We got Marvel Zombies. I think we all heard about that already. We got Ironheart, which we already knew about that. Secret Invasion, which is the Nick Fury series, where he teams up with the Skrulls. We have I Am Groot, which is a original series of shorts exploring Baby Groot's early days growing up, which is what I said they should do with Baby Yoda. What If Season 2, Guardian of the Galaxy Holiday Special, all this stuff we knew about. Willow, which we finally have a cast for now, and I don't know why that redheaded chick that's in all the other fucking shit is in this too, but she is. And that looked kind of like that really turned me off because I was looking forward to Willow, and then I saw this little preview thing, and it's kind of funny, but none of this cast is doing anything for me. But we'll get into the rest of this, see how you guys feel about any of this. Then we got Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett. We've got Tiana.
But that's a special. Like that's not like a series. Like,
no, it's just like a behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, exactly. But like briefly, when there's something like that, because you're just like a title that doesn't mean anything, you say Tiana, say what it is.
I'm trying, but a lot of this crap nobody cares. Yada yada, nobody cares. That's what it says right there. Long form musical series. Newly crowned Princess of Moldania. But calling to her New Orleans past, isn't that like a spinoff of?
Yeah, they're trying to tie her further into the revamped of Splash Mountain, where they're trying to force her into. So you have to remember, all of this is being done with a purpose to eliminate, what a tiny fraction of humans think is offensive about a kids ride. At the Disney parks, which won't change in Japan, by the way. OLC won't change theirs, but the 2 parks in the US are going to change around this Tiana idea. Mind you, Tiana's aimed for a particular age group that probably aren't tall enough nor are interested in riding a flume ride with such an extreme drop at the end. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah. Then we have Zootopia Plus, which, as you can figure, is just an animated series of Zootopia. Cars on the Road is a cross-country road trip with the animated Cars crew. Disenchanted, which is Amy Adams and Patrick Dempsey returning for a sequel to Enchanted. Cheaper by the Dozen is the new updated version of Cheaper by the Dozen.
But again?
Yeah, this will be the third iteration. You're right.
But remember, these are all going to Disney Plus. So these are
this is all Disney Plus stuff.
These are worse than direct-to-video films at this point.
Well, and this is the one that surprises the piss out of me. Hocus Pocus 2 is coming directly to Disney Plus.
That was actually supposed to go out into theaters. FYI.
That's what I thought. And then we got Ice Age: Adventures of Buck Wild. Simon Pegg is back as Buck. It looks like, and it's in just a movie. And then we got an original series of Baymax coming. Then we
that's like the Big Hero 6.
Yes,
big fella, isn't it?
Yeah. And then we have a new updated version of the Spiderwick Chronicles. Some people might remember that.
Yeah.
Then of course we got Pinocchio, which we already mentioned. We have the
here we have Pinocchio. Tell us briefly about Pinocchio. What we know
inspired by
about
Disney's
what
animated classic, and this is one that I'm kind of like.
It might be okay.
See, because the thing is, Pinocchio is like my favorite of the Disney classics.
Pinocchio.
And Zemeckis, if he's actually using the initial kind of idea and style, and he actually does something with it, it could be good. But otherwise, it could just be something like some of his last few animated films. Inspired by Disney's animated classic, this retelling, directed by Robert Zemeckis, combines live action effects and stars Tom Hanks, as I told you it would, Cynthia Erivo, Luke Evans, and the voices of Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Keegan-Michael Key, and Lorraine Bracco. Pinocchio returns on Disney Plus in fall of 2022. So they really don't tell us much of anything there, other than the cast. I'm assuming, though, that at least Pinocchio would probably be animated, considering I'm assuming Benjamin Evan Ainsworth is the voice. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Michael Keegan-Key are probably like the fox and the cat, and then so on and so forth. And Lorraine Bracco is probably the fairy godmother, whatever. That would be my guess. Beatles Get Back. Let's see here. Unless Joseph Gordon-Levitt's playing Jiminy Cricket, I can see that as well. The Beatles Get Back is the extended look at Let It Be with Peter Jackson. That's what I'm actually kind of looking forward to, but just to me feels kind of way off place for Disney Plus, but okay, because that just tells me it's going to be a cleaned up version of whatever happened. I know some of the stuff, and yeah, I'm sure they're going to have to clean up a lot of it. And then other than that, I think there was the Chippendales Rescue Rangers reboot, Limitless with Chris Hemsworth, which is basically a National Geographic series with Chris Hemsworth. And then we also have a similar one with Will Smith. And then America the Beautiful, which is another series. It doesn't really say much about it.
Have they mentioned the National Treasure one yet? Because people have been asking me.
No, that's not on here yet, as far as I know. Then we got one with Patrick Dempsey. Then we got Sneakerella, which looks like yet another updated version of Cinderella.
Wait, are we gonna have another one of the fairy godmothers who's
it's a gender flip
godfather?
Twist. It's a gender flipped twist on Cinderella.
Yeah, I don't know that's gonna make.
Wait, what?
It's a modern telling of Cinderella.
So Cinderella's going to be a dude who's going to, who's going to be transformed and like to try to win over the princess.
Well, it's set.
Wait, what?
It says.
Wait, what?
It says that it's set in the sneakerhead subculture in New York City. So it's
exactly. There you have a sneakerhead who is living repressed, and he's going to, over the course of the movie, be transferred to a princess. I'm sure Kamran got it in one there.
Holy cow!
Wait! Whoa! Hold on! Man, trailer. I just choked on my freaking bagel.
Wait, that puts brand new meaning to "Someday My Prince Will Come." I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, hey now.
I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not.
How are there any sneakers in Cinderella? What? She's got to see if the Nikes or the Reeboks fit better, or he does.
Or they even got a trailer.
And the actors are black. They're African American. Is that what we got here? Is that what's happening?
Oh no!
Right. So you got a black man as an abused stepchild. who seeks a woman's power to advance himself. That sounds like a black emasculation.
But how can we afford the
I don't know
sneakers?
what
Isn't
makes me more
Cinderella?
mad. I don't know what's upsetting me
Cinderella-
more.
I'm sure
Cinderella doesn't
that
have enough money to afford sneakers. So what's going
I'm sure
on
that
here?
his male fairy godmother is going to give them a free gift or something like that.
Like a $300 pair of sneakers.
Why is it got to be a black guy with sneakers? That's a little stereotypical.
Well, because Hollywood is a bunch of racists. Hollywood is a bunch
I didn't
of
want to say
racists.
it, but thank
They
you.
don't
Thank
know
you.
that they have all these stereotypes. You know, they are a bunch of all my friends who voted for Hillary proudly. We're all a bunch of racists.
What does that say about their opinions of people who are sneaker fans? What does that say?
I don't know what makes me more mad. The constant demasculinization of like black guys, who a lot of whom are my friends, and they talk about a lot in their community, or the absolute attacks on my friends who are white. I'm just upset at all of this stuff.
Yeah.
This is
Okay,
unacceptable.
Mike, how about this then? Audrey the Third suggests make him Latin. Call it Cinderello. Well, I'll do one better. Call it Cinderellix.
I like this idea of Cinderellix.
It was. Let me say this.
Is John Leguizamo busy? He looks good in a dress.
Wait. Here. Remember, they did a pretty fun little version of Cinderella, like way back in the day. It was called Cinderfella.
With Jerry Lewis, wasn't it?
Jerry Lewis, that's right. And so you can go back in time, you can find that kind of stuff, but
it's not new, right?
It's not new, but this is I don't know, man. But here's the thing. This is why all this stuff is going straight to Disney Plus.
You're right. I mean, this is the new direct-to-video of the Eisner era.
It very much so is.
Yeah.
But Cinderella was a comedy, right? I mean, it was meant to have a laugh at it all.
Yeah, it was really funny. Yeah, it was really well done.
Cinderella was. There's a trailer for this. So.
I don't think we're going to be laughing at Sneakerella.
Not
I'm
for
already
the right
laughing
reasons,
at it.
anyway.
Sneakerella, yeah, the Sneakerella or Cinderellix, like maybe it's the Sneakerellix.
All right, I'm gonna say
like
it. I'm gonna say it. Sneakerella sounds like a fucking porn version.
To be honest with you guys, that picture looks nice.
It does.
But I guess they messed it up with the story. But they look like two really nice young
romantic thing between a man and a woman.
It might be fine. Cinderella is one of those stories that has been like
oh shit! It's really called Sneakerella. I thought you were making it up.
No, I'm not making the shit up. I'm reading it. I'm reading it.
I have the most perfect question for Tom and Cameron once you're done with the list. Keep going. I'm going. Oh God, Andre, if you say Cinderella,
I got 10 minutes, Andre. So just
there's a couple more things.
Yeah. We have to because
because this is actually something Andre knew about, but nobody cared enough about to do anything with. The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, which looks like a new updated version of the series. We got Win or Lose, which is Pixar's first ever long form animated series. We got Better Than Ever, which is based on the book by Tim Federal. We've got Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which is obviously just an updated version of that. We got High School Musical 3, which is just a straight to video movie kind of thing. Disney Intertwined, which is let's see here. Allegra is ready to change the past in order to reach her dream in the first Disney Plus original series produced in Latin America. So that's what's important about it. They don't tell us anything else other than that. So there you go. That's it, kids.
Right.
That's the big announcements.
With that, let's since Kamran has an out in a few minutes here, I'm going to go through the super chats which are aimed specifically at him, and then we're going to return to what makes us the most excited about.
We got one right here from Jim Watari, who sends in $19.99 and says, "Visit Cameron's Patreon page for thoughtful and insightful information on the entertainment industry." Well, there you go. So I'm sure Cameron will have a lot more to say about this in depth on his Patreon. So do check that out.
I've been it's been the Patreon's doing really well. We're accelerating and we're having a great time there. So please join us there. There's a lot of stuff I can't say publicly that I'll say there.
So good.
Yeah. Exactly. I highly recommend it. It's absolutely the place for excellent industry analysis you are not going to get anywhere else.
I think Roba Damson, that's how you say that. I think he summed it up perfectly here with a bunch of poop emojis. And KR Nut was like, "Stop, please stop." They didn't tell me you said that. I'm sorry if you suffered anymore. But yeah, so what did we have any super chats for Cameron?
Yes, we do. Thesis says for $4.99, he would love to support you. But Kamran, I can't support anyone on Patreon as they will cut your revenue if the political club demands it, like Sargon. Please join Subscribestar. Because then Theris will support you there at the principal.
Well, it's good advice right now. I'm just what I've got is Patreon, and they haven't censored me because I'm keeping my comments have a political tone to them, but they're always related to Hollywood, and so far they've left me alone. If I get killed there, I get killed there, and I
haven't been able to get my money from Subscribestar, so I don't know if I'd recommend that either.
Yeah, all I know is I'm there now, and so I'm not going anywhere else. I just want to keep it one place. If they kill me, they kill me, and we'll start over. But please join me there if you can.
And Michael Miller, he asks for 14 South African rounds. Sage Pasha, when are marketing people getting purged?
I think that's coming. I think that's going to be coming over the course. It's probably already been quietly happening. One of the signs of that is because what's linked to marketing is PR. And we saw that the long-standing PR executive or head of PR at Lucasfilm was let go or resigned, just a few weeks ago. And that to me was part of the ending of Ms. Kennedy's actual practical reign there. So we're already beginning to see that happening. Right. I wish it happened faster, but looking at the marketing of this, of Ms. Marvel's costume, even if that's the joke costume before she has her powers, you don't market that. And in your first, initial stuff. So that's going to have to come. And I'm sure that Bob Chapek is on it because he knows that the marketing people have been some of the dumbest people. They're the ones that have taken movies that are not really woke and have presented them as such, and as a result, caused people to not go to those movies. And not all those are Disney, but the example being, Terminator 3, or whatever, Dark Fate, not 3, Terminator Dark Fate.
I was saying you're way past 3 now, buddy.
Yeah, you Terminator, whatever, 25, Dark Fate.
Yeah, we're somewhere around
there's other problems
yes.
with it, but I heard people didn't really feel it was that woke. Same thing with Charlie's Angels, which was presented as a feminist thing. Same thing even with Birds of Prey, which at least the final cut wasn't necessarily politically that woke, but it was presented all this feminist stuff, right? And so people didn't go see that stuff, and that's all the marketing, dum-dums. Those are the old people that don't have their finger on the actual market. They're trying to preach something. And they think that, and these are the people that believe that Twitter is a real place. Like Chappelle says, Twitter is not a real place. And so those people don't understand that the morons on Twitter will rally behind something and not buy tickets. So I'm sure Chapek is going to be executing a lot of those people over the next year.
Well, we saw just after we were reporting here just a couple months ago that Chapek is shifting the control. What has happened? Like 90% of their projects have all been pushed back or delayed.
And that's going to give them the time not only reshoot, but to get rid of people that don't know how to market it.
It was also listed in the the quarterly report, which was referenced in a notice that came a few months ago, that there's the reorganization of the studio has to report to an executive that reports to Chapek.
There you go. That's exactly what I meant.
That's exactly what's going on. Adding that lovely Byzantine extra control layers, which is basically Chapek's eyes and ears throughout Disney. And you can't do anything without those eyes and ears passing it on for approval.
Well, and we can go at this from both ends here. Peter Smigelski has one for Cameron, who says, Mr. Pasha, how do you feel about the portrayal of the character of Greer in Amazon's Jack Ryan series?
I have not watched the Jack Ryan series. I know some of my friends don't really like it. They felt especially that there's a lot of stereotypes in there. So I can't answer that question because I don't know Greer specifically. So please forgive me. I know you gave some money to this, but if others have any thought on Greer, I haven't watched the show.
I've watched it. And I loved the portrayal of Greer in that series. He plays, a higher level agent, and he's kind of tasked with taking Jack Ryan under his wing. And Jack Ryan's portrayed not necessarily as somebody who's a little bit, not trying to play the game, but Greer definitely doesn't play the game. His main focus is trying to get the job done and making sure he's protecting people. And he gets burned for it a little bit in this series. So it becomes realistic. But also Greer is a practicing Muslim, if I'm saying this correctly. And it was nice to see a character like this because you never see characters like that as an agent in a federal agency. So I thought it was fresh and it was outside of the box, and it was somewhat more of a realistic portrayal, in my opinion, of a character like that. So I liked it.
And thank you for letting me know. Maybe I will check out.
And I agree completely with that assessment, Cameron. I completely agree with that assessment. She's totally on point. I think it's a very respectful, interesting, good treatment, and it's not over your head. It's real subtle, and it's real. It's just part of his character of who he is.
Well, it's interesting because I won't, without revealing who it is. One of my Patreon subscribers is an African American former. I don't know, and I've teased him. I don't know that you're former CIA worker, right? And so he's one of my Patreon members. We talked, and so I will ask his opinion as well. But it sounds like something I should check out.
All right, very cool. And with that, I do believe that we have gone through every single super chat that was addressed at Kamran.
We do have one here from Rod Thunderheart who says, "Hail Midnight's Edge in the morning. I'd like to recommend Cameron's Patreon. It's like a direct line to the workings of inner Hollywood. It's more entertaining than a movie." Well, that's not hard to do nowadays, Rod, but
well, thank you for that assessment, my friend. Thank you for that. Not hard to do. It is very hard to buy my Patreon. And
it's hard to be. It's not hard to be more entertaining than a movie nowadays. Is my point.
Yeah. And actually, we do have one more question for Kamran here.
I'm just teasing you, Tom. Go on.
Yeah. This is from let's see, from Freakadelic. There we have it. Who has a question sent to PayPal to Kamran? Say you have an idea that be hella useful or integral to an established IP, and it's one of those that you can't just know about and not tell someone. After all, it's not possible that any and all worthwhile ideas will occur to those who handle the IP. So you wish to leave it in better hands, and they can either take it or leave it. How does one go about submitting it to a party of concern without it just getting dismissed out of hand because it's unsolicited ideas? So in other words, what Freakadelic wants to know is if you have an idea on how to improve an IP that you do not know, how would you go about submitting that idea just to give it to them without them rejecting you flat?
Well, there is no legal way to do it because there's legal, prohibitions from essentially taking pitches from people outside the industry, and so that because they don't want someone to say I emailed you this idea and then it showed up in season 3 of your show and I'm going to sue you for $100 million because you didn't pay me for it, right? So that's the problem. It's a copyright issue. It's wonderful, I don't doubt that you have ideas that are better than the people who are making the stuff because I work with those people and they generally don't know what they're doing. And often the fans do, right? And so I don't doubt that. The problem is unless you are friends with a writer or someone who can influence it and you can say, here's an idea, just run with it, right? There is no way to get there because their system for fear of copyright lawsuits won't let you submit anything. And so that's the answer. I just no way to do it. Post your stuff on Twitter or whatever, maybe someone will see it. But then, don't become resentful if suddenly your idea is incorporated somewhere and then you're like, well, where's my money? This was my idea, right? That's right now you're excited to share those ideas. But the moment you see your ideas being taken and you're not compensated for what you think you deserved, it's not going to be a great feeling. So it's probably not the best thing to even try.
And if you want to try anyway, try to make sure that your favorite property is being managed by Alex Kurtzman. Because he's been known to take inspiration from elsewhere. Let's put it that way.
They usually won't take unsolicited ideas for anything. Usually, anyway,
for the legal reason I described. So and I do have to head out in a moment. I think there might some people are saying in the chat you missed my super chat. If there's one for me that was missed, please forgive me. Please
I'm
send
trying
a message
to now too. Yeah.
So please send a message to Andre or Tom or resend it in the chat in some fashion. And then I tend to come on every Fridays around this time. And so if we miss something, we'll try our best to address it next time. Or I often go on Toxic Femininity, so on Monday nights. And so maybe we'll address it there. So please forgive me if I missed something you have to say. But everyone, thank you for your time. And thank you for letting me speak and sharing my opinions. And sometimes they're very passionate opinions. Not everyone agrees with them, but I appreciate that I have a forum here to at least be able to present.
Did you grab this one here?
Sure. You want one last one?
Let's see. Yes, we did get that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
John Apocalypse. All right.
We did get that one.
Yeah, we did. We said
it earlier. We got that one. We got that one.
All right.
And we got this one. So all right.
Which one? All right. So thank you.
The Wishmaster one.
And Please make yourself a regular thing here because it's made me happy to have the nice, positive, feminine energy. So I want to start and end with you.
Well, thank you, Cameron. It's a pleasure always streaming with you, and thank you for the kind words.
All right. God bless everyone in the chat. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Bye, Cameron.
Love you, brother.
Bye-bye, guys. Take care.
Excellent.
Take
All right.
care.
Take care. Yes.
We got these earlier, right?
Yeah. Yes, we got
Okay,
all those
so
earlier. Yeah.
The beauty is now I can actually go back and highlight these classic super chats so we can actually bring them up on screen.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of that, Tom, can you find the one just so we get to where we were?
Yes, please.
The one that we were at before was find the one from Marilyn's Id. It was the one straight after
Awesome.
John Apocalypse, the one you just showed, because that's
Here
the
we
next
go.
one where we were.
Merlin's Id says, "Hey Tom and Andre, it was really great talking to you guys during the last member stream. Hope I get to do it again." Well, we hope we get to see you again. We're going to try and get a schedule together here soon for that. But in the meantime, stay tuned for another one. Hopefully within the next week or so, we'll try and do another
Tom,
one.
while you're on that, did you catch the member chat from Peter Smigelski?
We did not.
Did not.
Okay, do you want me to
Let's
read it?
Yeah,
Okay.
you do it.
From
Yeah,
Peter
you do it.
Smigelski, has been a member for 2 months, and he asked the panel, with people canceling Disney Plus service, are just adult homes or people who have kids also canceling? Well, the answer to that is they don't differentiate that data, unless culture, something I don't. But that data is not differentiating.
I'm sure they have it personally in their own data banks, but it's not something they'll ever put out there, right, Culture?
No. No. Transparency right now is evil in the eyes of corporations. In fact, they or any of these services, anything, nobody wants to be transparent anymore. So
yeah.
They usually ask you in a survey though, right, when you sign up with stuff is like,
transparency is problematic.
I mean, if you want to talk about a company that surveys people, Disney surveys people constantly, whether you're at their theme parks, at their restaurants, you subscribe to their service, you're going to get surveys. They look for feedback, but there is no transparency.
There you go. And welcome back, Valiant Renegade.
Hey, yeah, made it back.
How's it going? And then we got Callum Lyle here with $2 Australian. It says, Mexican Iron Man, I highly recommend the CGI He-Man. I see he gave up trying to recommend it to me.
Yeah, pick your battles.
Yeah. So there you go. Check it out, Mike. Let me know if it's any good. I guess report back. But
I got so much stuff to do during Thanksgiving week, but no, but I'm, me, I'm on it. It's hard, I try. I go into everything.
He will.
Here's the thing with me, like R&B said something interesting, which is that he goes into, this is when we were on last night's show on Midnight's Edge, After Dark on the main channel. Check it out, everybody. If you didn't check it out, it was a great show last night.
Yeah,
but
he goes on the main.
I go into everything wanting the best. I'm a very optimistic guy. I go into everything hoping for the best, wanting the best, thinking of the best. The problem is I go in so strong that way that if it sucks, I come back out pissed and swinging.
Yeah, we noticed, like with it better not have rabbit chickens and stuff. Let's put it that way.
Well, and Tila better not do so many arm days. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Then DS Ford sends in $10. Says, "Hail Jensen, lovely.
Hi.
Great panel we have today with really thoughtful insights on the topic. All we need now is for Jesse to join and throw a couple F-bombs, and we're good." I think he's working. I didn't see him in the chat at all, so I'm assuming as much. If not, he knows he's always welcome. He's just got to pop in and let us know he's not working. Let's see here. What else do we got? No, the next one's a little bit down here. Give me a second. And we got Michael Miller, who says, "Are we not talking about the return of X-Men?" Well, we did bring it up, but let's grab everybody's real quick reaction to that. Yeah,
let's do that. So, who wants to go first?
I was going to say,
I was about to say.
Gave my kind of initial impression.
Yeah, I will say that of the original X-Men series, I have seen one episode, ever, and that was like the Wolverine episode where he fights Sabretooth in Alaska or the North Pole or Greenland or something, and it was okay. And beyond that, I always wanted to see it, but when I was a kid in Norway, we didn't have it. So my childhood went by, and I never got it. I still haven't seen it. So my only hope for it is that for the fans, that it's going to be what Cobra Kai was, and also what Dexter, the new season of Dexter, is, a worthy follow-up, and not Masters of the Universe Revelation all over again. That's my hope for it. Beyond that, how about you then, that actually grew up with it? Valiant, for instance, did you grow up with the X-Men, the animated series? And if so, what are your thoughts on this animated revival?
I wouldn't say I grew up with it. I do remember it vaguely. I don't know. I remember watching some of the shows. I just don't remember a lot of it. That being said, I'm with you. Look, it's like anything else. I hope it's good. I hope that the fans are pleased with it. I hope it doesn't disrespect the X-Men lore. They make some kind of radical, completely unnecessary and frankly empty changes just to satisfy some political whim, like we see so much these days from these companies. I think if they do that, it's gonna have a loud, nasty reaction. I think if they stick to it like they did before and just make a fun X-Men animated series, leave the characters like they were in the original comic books. They're still characters that work for our generation, for the younger generation. You don't really need to do anything with them except just leave them alone and let them be the X-Men. Apart from that, I don't know much about this series that they're bringing onto Disney Plus.
Okay, Cultured, how about you?
Well, I don't recall the series. Again, I mean, that's going back a ways. I defer to the master on these subjects, which would be Razor Fist, who reacted saying, you realize 97 was the year that Marvel filed for bankruptcy, right? So that's his thought.
Yeah. Anyway. In other words, they seem to have perhaps overestimated the appeal of the series just a teeny tiny little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah. Are you at all familiar with this series, and how excited are you to see it brought back?
Well, I didn't grow up watching the X-Men animated series, but I watched all the films, which I liked many of them. And from what I understand, they're bringing back the original voice actors for this particular show,
which is cool. I approve of that for the approach.
So I think that from what they're indicating, they're saying it's a continuation of the series, and I don't know whether that means that they want to keep it, authentic, or change it like so many other series we've seen. And I hope they don't make major changes and so to a point where it's unrecognizable.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to find out. Mike, you certainly must have grown up with this series.
I did. I don't know what I don't even know what to say, because I grew up with He-Man, which was much closer to me than this stuff was, than Marvel cartoons. I mean, by far. I don't know what reaction I'll have to what's about to happen, because I'm still in the middle reacting to what just did happen. So I don't know. Jury's out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Am I excited? Hell no. I'm just not excited. I made the comment last night on the show with R&B and Tom that, when they keep redoing stuff that we already love and they keep doing a worse job, all it's going to do is make me go to YouTube and watch my favorite YouTube creators more to get at least fresh new perspectives and new entertainment. That's what it's doing. That's what these people are doing. And they're so lazy. It's no wonder that they're influenced by, commie mantras back from, decades gone by, which is rooted in laziness and handouts. And the more that they try to, feed themselves off of the, the little golden nuggets and try to, they're just, all they're doing is turning it into nickel and tin is what it is. And I'm sick and tired of the things that we love. We have platinum love and gold sensibilities about some of these great properties, and I'm sick and tired of them turning it into nickel and tin and feeling disappointed time after time and time again.
Tom, how about you then?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, I followed the series somewhat back in the day, but I don't know. I mean, that's isn't that the beginning of the downfall of comics, is around the 97 period, like Razor Fist?
Here, I thought that this series was like some kind of huge thing that I missed out on, but I guess
it is. It's very popular.
No, it is.
I'm like,
well, I don't feel that the popularity here in this panel, and if there was anywhere,
well, that's
I would
the
expect
problem.
that
Like,
it was
Andre,
this panel.
if this was 6 years ago,
Yeah.
we'd be totally on board with this.
Yeah, you're right. That's
Remember
exactly it.
2 years ago or a year ago, we got excited about the Batman animated series reannouncement. Now everything we're hearing about that, we're like, fuck. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, that's where I'm waiting for the ball to drop on this shit too, right? Like it never fails. No matter how excited you can kind of get me about something anymore, especially when it comes from Disney, I take it with a huge, like, fucking grain of salt with that it's going to possibly be good. Like, none of the stuff they announced here, like, this is kind of where Cameron and I, like, the whole thing the other night is like, I am not excited for any of this shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader fight again. That is going to completely ruin episode 4 for me. Like, there's all these other problems I have with all this other stuff. I don't care about Boba Fett. Like, Spider-Man, sure, okay, an animated series is going to be aimed at kids. Whoop-de-doo. Willow, I'm already pissed off because nobody in the cast is anybody I recognize aside from red-haired chick. And she's been in every shitty fucking Disney movie we've gotten in the last 2 years, like Solo and everything
So
else.
basically, her presence is like a
Red flag.
a red alert. Yeah, red flag. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see Val Kilmer anywhere.
Yeah. Tom, you're right.
I'm
You
just
really are
getting
right.
so fucking like.
You really are right, Tom.
Yeah,
what is there to be excited about here? I'm sorry.
I can't imagine Willow without Val Kilmer somehow, whether he plays some sort of role in it. It doesn't make it. I don't see it happening, but they're going to go through with it. So, but
Is
they
Warwick
need him.
Davis in it?
Oh yeah, he's in it. And I
Okay.
mean, the little trailer they got out there, it's not really a trailer. It's him just talking. Him just talking to the new cast. It's kind of goofy and funny and cute, but to me, it's like you're not giving us anything. Like
They don't have anything to give you yet. They're not.
That's the thing, and this thing has been in production forever. I knew about this over 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, they announced it last year at Disney Investor
Yes,
Day.
I've been talking about this for a while now. I said I knew this was happening because I knew this is the next thing that was on Ron Howard's docket. And then after this, he's doing one, maybe one more project, and he's selling his company. Well, he didn't get to his other project because of COVID. And guess what happened a few months ago? He put up Imagine Entertainment went up for sale, just like I said was going to happen. So this Willow thing is like his last hoorah, I guess. I don't know.
Perhaps so.
I don't know if he's directing any of it. I think he's just overseeing it. But as far as X-Men goes, no. I'm glad they got the original voice cast back, but
yeah,
well,
you're at this point you're waiting to find out if Jean Grey and Rogue are going to be transsexual lesbian couples.
They brought in those original actors to pull in people who watched the program before, because people will say I'll recognize those actors and I want to hear them again. But like I said, I am very curious as to whether they're going to change it around so much that it's unrecognizable, and that seems to be the trend of what we've been getting. So it's a scary prediction, but it seems like that's what they want to do
in the comics at that time. Like I said, I remember falling out around that period, so I have no idea if there was any decent comic stories out of X-Men in '97 and beyond or not. Because wouldn't that have been the era that started to kind of like influence Bryan Singer's X-Men and all that kind of stuff? When they kind of started moving away from the regular stuff? I don't know. I don't remember. I fell out of comics around that time.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know that Bryan Singer himself was ever all that inspired.
No, I know,
by
but I
the
mean, like,
comics.
just like how they looked and all that kind of the style and just kind of the shifting of the whole viewpoints of the story. I don't know. I fell out of the comics. So is there even any stories that they haven't touched in the animated series that are even worth a shit? Like, that's the thing. As far as I know, they've gotten up through like the Dark Phoenix saga and all that kind of shit. So didn't they do Days of Future Past as well?
Yes,
you mean
they
like
did.
on film?
Yeah.
Or-
Yes.
No, in the animated. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, in the
Like,
animated?
yeah. Like,
I don't
they
know.
got
Yeah, I think
like
they
most
did.
of the major stories, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, Bob A says I read a good 2 X-Men omnibus or 2 post 97 stories. So there's a couple, I guess. But that's not very glowing, right? Like, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, are they going to try and connect it more with the MCU, or what's the deal here? That's my question, I guess.
I'm guessing that this is just like a pure continuation of the animated series. It's not going to be
If they
connected to
do
the
that
MCU
and
in
they
any way.
actually have good stories that they're not going to fuck with, then fine. It'll do fine. That's probably the crowning jewel of all the things they announced.
Yeah, I mean,
If
let
that is
it
the
be
case.
its own thing.
What was this 20,000 Leagues Beneath the Sea thing? Because I heard Kamran speak about it, but I haven't seen it myself.
I
other than I
Nemo?
heard him mention it.
I didn't see nothing listed about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Like this Captain Nemo Nautilus project.
I didn't see that in this, so I don't
Oh
know.
God, I love that. Please don't. That is one
There
of
was
my.
a lot of stuff though that they didn't say in here that we know is coming or has been announced and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
Because I would be excited about that, but potentially. That's just about the only thing. Because honestly, so far, there's not a single thing here that's interested me in the slightest.
there's only one other thing I was interested in here, and it had less to do with Disney Plus. This is something we knew about before all this shit, and that was that Get Back. The Beatles documentary
with the Peter
Yeah,
Jackson.
I already knew about that, and I already had wanted to see that before it was any part of Disney Plus. And in fact, that's the only good thing to happen was that the fact that it got moved to Disney Plus is it went from being a standard form documentary into I think a 4-part series now or something like that.
Yeah, it's broken up. Yeah.
And as culture cues up, ladies and gentlemen, we are still down at Disney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, Michael, the X-Men, that could be one of the few things if they get it right, if they follow the comics, I guess, if there's some good stories post 97, I guess. I don't know. Olaf Van Ness is the next one, it looks like. Love this panel. Wonderful people in today. Best way to start the weekend. Can't wait to hear our expectations, predictions to be confirmed. Hell, Midnight's Edge in the morning. Thank you so much for that. Let's see here. What do we have next? Now I got to scroll down. It's nice that we can actually get back to these, though.
Yeah, that is very nice.
Yep. They did a solid update to StreamYard, so that's good for everybody, except we still can't see the member chats.
There's a few things yet they need to fix, but the member chats and the super stickers would be nice.
And also, I would welcome YouTube to actually make a repository for member chats. I can't believe that's still not there.
Unless we just don't know where it's at. That's the other thing. Make it to where we know where the fuck it's at. Ryan Gingras, thank you so much for the $5, says, setting up my new computer while I listen. It came with Disney Plus already installed. First thing I did was get rid of it. Well, the only reason I have Disney Plus right now is because my kid gets it free with his overpriced fucking phone plan. So it's like, whatever. And he hardly watches it. So speaking of, I did watch like the first 5 minutes of Shang-Chi, and then I checked out after that first huge CGI battle. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of...
That was the best part of the movie. I mean, that's like the Fu Manchu origin story.
Yeah, I was like, this is boring. I can tell it was all CG, and I'm just like, eh.
I told you it sucked.
It was, but they still, again, that entire thing is stolen from better properties, which is, that the whole...
Yeah, that was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or rather... Crouching Fu Hidden Manchu.
There you go.
and soon to be the sequel, Crouching Mexican Airman, Hidden Rabbit Chickens.
Oh my.
Oh Lord. Speaking of attacking, Dash Attack sends in $9.99 and says, I just checked it. Took 2 years to add American Dragon Jake Long to D+. 2 years, half Asian main character, only 2 seasons. Why wasn't it day one? I think they hate that show.
I have a theory on that. Like this, how old is this show?
It sounds like it's probably a little older show.
Did it take some kind of have they done any kind of image enhancement to it, or any kind of restoration of it in a way? Like, did it need any kind of touch up before it could be uploaded, or did they just dump it from the old files?
Basically, what Andre's asking in big words are: is it standard def or high def?
Yes.
It was released back between 2005 and 2007.
So that's questionable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I kind of vaguely.
So I get what Andre's getting at. It might have took some time to restore it in HD.
Yeah, exactly. To get it fit for Disney Plus release,
Disney
hopefully
Plus
without butchering it like they did The Simpsons.
Well, the thing is, Disney Plus has been pretty hit and miss on some things they do upgrade, some things they haven't. Like, I can't believe they haven't gone back and redone all their Disney afternoon shows in HD, for instance. But yet we're getting some of the classic Star Wars series in HD, but that's probably just because George Lucas scanned them. I guarantee you that's why. But there's a few things here and there, but I don't think they've really upgraded a lot of their classic
There is no
series.
way a creatively bankrupt company that doesn't even know what to do with its existing VIP type of titles from its vault is ever going to be able to compete successfully. And this Disney Plus thing will always be at best second or third place, and it's always going to be a late fill. The best shot this company has to survive is to reposition itself and make investors understand that it is a multi-dimensional company with multiple streams of income, and to get this woke crap out and to stop pitching. Because when they're trying to say, hey, I'm the best pitcher that can hit, and then you're not hitting, well, then you're a shitty ass baseball player. Just be a pitcher and do what you know what to do.
Well, the fact that they put the show on there, I don't think they hate it. I think it was just a matter of either upgrading it, like Andre was saying, or it just took that much time to get
there's probably
the
a
rights
lot of
cleared
shows.
up or whatever. It's hard to say.
I was going to say, there's probably a lot of shows that fall into this category. I mean, bear in mind that, you know, the idea of Disney Plus was not to just turn it on and then put every single piece of IP that Disney has ever had their fingers on it at the same time. I mean,
that was initially what Bob Iger sold to us, though.
He sold the idea, but I mean, that's never a good idea. You don't want to dump everything at one time. I mean, it's a good idea to constantly be adding new things here and there, so you can say, this is what's coming this month. This is what's coming this month. And especially in a time like we just discussed about to open the show, when they haven't been able to produce anything new in the past year. So, I mean, look, I wouldn't read too much into things like this, especially when you're talking about a 15-year-old.
Exactly. I think it's just a matter of it was just its time. They may have had to even scan it into digital form. Who knows? I doubt that's the case if it was made that late, but I think Valiant's right. It's just a matter of, plus I know a lot of the reason they have to move and stuff around is just because they have to conserve room for what they have room for on there, because they only can carry so much at a time or whatever. But Terrace Thesis says, Cameron, I can support anyone on Patreon as they will cut your okay, we already got this one, right?
This one, yeah.
Thank you again, though, for that, Terrace. Let's see here. Revcore was next. Till Gina is back, no Disney Plus for me. Well, I don't blame you on that. That was when I canceled. At least my subscription anyway. And then, like I said, the only one I've had since is with my kids, and that's just because it comes free, basically. Free in quotations, but yeah.
Yeah, they literally have to throw it after you.
Pretty much. The Melvin Belliard says, good afternoon to the lovely lady and gentlemen. So you're telling me that you aren't excited about the new Baymax series from Big Hero 6 or hope it turns out good, but I'm not optimistic about Willow. Baymax will probably be fine. I'm not real worried about that, but that's another property that's not necessarily made for me. I enjoyed the movie.
Right.
I didn't.
But
as I said, it wasn't made for me.
Well, yeah, again, it's like a kid's movie aimed at 6-year-olds.
Well, I can tell you this new Cinderella Sneakerella thing, that ain't aimed at me at all.
Well, I have a little bit more information about that Sneakerella
do tell.
Oh, God.
From Geeky Rant, just so you know where I got it. It says this movie follows a teen boy named L who works in his father's shop, but dreams of being a sneaker designer. He meets a girl at the release of a popular new sneaker who happens to be the heir of a sneaker empire.
It's Black Cruella.
And yes, and he realizes he may have his chance to break into the industry.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord.
Yep.
So he's using her money and her rich. So
you know something? It sounds like maybe there's some situation where she offers him a deal and it looks like a romance. That picture looks like they're having a romantic interlude, doesn't it?
I'm fine with it. I don't give a shit.
Cinderella's
been done so many times.
Yes, but maybe.
Well, except that it's completely historically inaccurate because of hypergamy, women in general don't look for a sneaker salesman if they come from wealth and money. That just never fucking happens. And let me just tell you this much: there's no freaking way that any kind of little whatever kind of fairy godmother, whatever the hell, is going to make a woman change that mind, because women do not go down and because of hypergamy. They're always trying to upgrade, and there's no way some chick is going to fall in love with a sneaker salesman, and then there's no way daddy's going to let the millions of dollars going to come and use the connections. And no, there's no way. Are you kidding? No,
I think Peggy Bundy would.
Well,
agree with you.
I was excited about the photograph that they used because promotional wise, it's two very nice young looking adults there, and it certainly wasn't a bad photo. I think that children would like to watch something like that. But I hope he doesn't find himself in a situation where he has to marry her or something to get into the business or something. Like, I'm not quite sure where they're going with.
Well, I'll tell you this: as I'm raising my son, so that he doesn't have to wait for some rich chick to come by and hopefully fall in love with him at a sneaker store at Athlete's Foot. My kid's going to be raised to own a company, and he'll be able to date whoever he wants and fall in love for love's sake.
Yes.
Exactly. That's much better advice than go to the Al Bundy school of dating. Yeah, I agree with that.
Can I
do
ask a
agree with
question?
that.
Why is it that Miss Marvel on the screen right now is wearing a rabbit chicken helmet? I mean, did y'all cover this one earlier?
Well, we brought that up while you were gone. That's
Oh, shucks. I figured you might have.
It's just like what they did with the Eternals campaign, which I think fell far short of how the movie, was like, the way that they were portrayed in that campaign, and even in the photographs, it didn't put their best foot forward. And a lot of people were very turned off by it and wondering what exactly the movie was about. And I have to wonder by looking at this. And I know you said you thought maybe it might be a cosplay moment or
Script
something.
Doctor even, I don't know if he confirmed it, but I think he said, yeah, it was basically it is like a Captain Marvel costume or whatever that this character is wearing. I'm assuming it's like from the screenshots I saw, it looked like perhaps it's a scene where she's testing out her powers or something like that. But regardless,
it doesn't put her forward in a positive light.
And the difference is here is that
costume thing.
Exactly. Well, I was just going to say it's a little different. Valiant, like you're kind of probably just saying, is like, is Spider-Man? We know the character, right? Captain America, we know the character. So if they show him in those goofy costumes or the pre-costumes, we can almost kind of surmise that they're going to get a different costume. They're just keeping it from us. We don't know shit about this character But
I'm also concerned too, Tom, because what if they do, what they did with the Eternals, where the conflict, where she's fighting her significant other, more or less, this man, she has to come into a fist fight, or there's some sort of abusive relationship, like someone said in the comments. I sure hope that is not in this storyline, because this is a 16-year-old girl we're talking about, and I want this to be a positive, fun, superhero situation, but not one where she's suffering any kind of abuse or something odd or unusual.
Oh God, isn't her one of her powers like she gets a big fist? I could see them using that complete story, like
she has like this really disgusting power where she gets like this massive hands. Like some Mr. Fantastic.
No, because I can totally see where is going with this. Like her boyfriend or whatever be like abusive towards her or something. So like at some point, like that's like her,
So basically, she turns into Cockknocker from.
Yeah, she does. She does.
Just clarifying this. God,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong, VR. I don't know which character came first, but.
Oh my God!
Actually, I do believe Cockknocker came first.
I was gonna say I think so. To be honest with you,
probably. Maybe that was the inspiration.
Lord, and then Oni Renja says X-Men as an IP might be able to reinvigorate the MCU if Disney can pull its head out of its butt before they get into the process. And this kind of goes back to the initial question about me, why I'm where I can still see that there's some hope in the MCU compared to Star Wars. Like with Star Wars, unless they go back and actually retcon the trilogy, there's no real fixing it. Because no matter what they do, all roads still lead to the Last Jedi. At least with the MCU, they do have the X-Men, they do have Fantastic Four, they do have a few things yet that are actually pretty big hitters that, if done right, can reinvigorate the MCU. I just think we're in that dark period right now where between the time they bought Fox and knew what was going on because of the whole deal with James Gunn and everything else going sideways. So hopefully this is just that awkward teenage phase we're in right now, right? Like,
well, it all depends on what they do with those properties too. I mean,
exactly. Like, even age-wise, we're perfect. Like my analogy works, right? Because we are 12, 13 years into the MCU now.
Right.
So we're at that awkward point where it is becoming a teenager. And let's see if it gets through this phase. On the other end of this phase, it could, look like the MCU could become a very healthy, adult. But that all depends on how they handle the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and their relationship with Sony and things like that going forward. That is very important and key to the MCU's success. If they cannot nail those things, then they are fucking done. But from what we're hearing about Spider-Man and a few other things, I do have a little hope. I do have a little hope, not a ton, a little hope.
Hope is not a strategy. I've heard some more things about Spider-Man. My hope is waning a little bit.
You'll have to tell us after the show, because after those leaks, I was feeling pretty good. Now don't tell me that. I mean, I do know
After which leaks are you referring to?
Well, which other ones are we know that are campy as leaks that are pretty much been fucking verified as true?
I have some other leaks.
Well, I mean, I know some other stuff too, actually, that we might be able to.
It could be that we're talking about the same thing.
We could very well.
Very different interpretations of them.
Could very well. Anyhow, if that's the case, then maybe we can actually get into that later. I can't get into it now. Corsair Raven says Gina was in a good position to be the next Tony Stark for Star Wars, the beginning of a new saga of stories. I don't know about Tony Stark, but she definitely, with her own show.
I like the term that we have used, that she was one of the load-bearing pillars of Jon Favreau's upcoming Star Wars. And you know what you do not do with load-bearing pillars? You don't tear them down. And that's
I would
exactly
say
what
the
Captain
better one would be she was more like Thor. Because notice how Thor has kind of been more of the steady one throughout, even if you really look at it. She could have been that.
Well, I think she was much more popular, though, Tom, don't you think?
Well, that's why I put her at that level, because, yeah, she was more popular, but the show was The Mandalorian. The next show is the Boba Fett. And then her other the Rangers show was not her show. That was actually a springboard to her own show, right? Like she was.
But speaking of show, I do believe that Cultured Casino has to be sliding out here.
Thank you, Culture, for being here today. We appreciate it.
Oh, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I get to hang out with some amazing humans, and I love that. So yeah, but no, I've got to prep for my show in about a half an hour, and then I'm off to do some promotions, and then of course watch all the Friday night shows. Can't wait.
Well,
you guys are awesome. Appreciate you all.
Can't wait to talk to you again soon, Culture. Take care.
See ya.
Yeah, take care.
Later.
I know after this show, unless Andre sends me some fucking work, I'm watching Rocky and Drago. I didn't know that dropped 2 days ago.
Oh, it did?
Well, I still have to finish writing it, so don't anticipate sleeping for too long tomorrow. So I'm saying.
Well, tomorrow's a big different story.
But tonight you can watch Rocky.
If I can squeeze Rocky and Drago in before Friday Night Tights, is my hopes.
Yeah, I think you should be good with that.
Yeah, so we'll get to. I've been hearing good things about it. So then we got the Corsair Raven one, but yeah, I think we all are kind of in agreement. You're pretty much right on that with the Tony Stark or whatever. It could have been. She could have been. I just don't know if that's ever going to happen again. So let's see here. What's our next one? I mean, you can always start reading them, Andre, while I'm looking for them.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just have to see exactly where we were. What was
Corsair Raven is the one we're leaving off on, and Eric Madsen is the next one with 50 Danish krona. Says she let me do this in the voice. I say she cut off my head, and she's wearing it like a hat. That's just not right.
Yeah, there we go. And then Smooth Jam California says for £5. Tom makes a great point. I can definitely see his perspective. But personally, I think Marvel's done. Only hope that they have a Secret Wars style reboot. And yeah, I think that there are ways forward for Marvel still, but they have to get onto that track really soon here.
Yes.
And then we have the
Waddle Dee's nuts.
That's exactly. Thank you. I was looking for a description there. So yeah, and he says, "Happy Friday, everyone. Glad I could catch this for a little bit. How would you feel about the Chadwick Boseman deepfake in the sequel?"
Nope.
We've discussed this before, actually.
Yeah, I would say that I would be okay with it if that's only to establish that he's the king of Wakanda now, and he hasn't got time to run around as a Black Panther, and so you do it instead. I'd be okay with that.
Oh, not like the whole movie. Okay.
Well,
yeah, not the whole movie.
You just have to do that.
Just a scene with him as the king, you're the king now.
But they'd have to strike a deal with his estate. I don't know if they could do. I mean, they've already moved on, and I mean now they've shut down production.
Well, and that's where I said I'm sure there's footage of him like at news conferences and stuff from like Civil War and other things that they could probably just throw up in the background, and you just have someone say, "Yeah, he's doing the king thing," and now Shuri's the one who took over the mantle or whatever it is that they decide to do. As far as the deep fake thing, they'd have to go with the state, and it'd be a whole lot of red tape, I bet.
Well, they got to finish. They got to finish principal photography,
and not or
first,
not
which
so
they're
much the
having
red
trouble enough
tape
with it right now.
Yeah, they're having enough trouble getting. They're trying to. Well, they're trying to. The woke crowd's trying to cancel Shuri. So
Yeah, because she won't go to see the doctor. Let's say that.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah,
I
let's
just
put
think
it that way.
it'd also be in a little bit of bad taste as well. But that's just my opinion. They could do it. There's probably nothing stopping them outside of his estate. Then
Oh,
again,
I'm sure that as long as it's respectful and the appropriate respectful sum of money as it changes hands, I'm sure a deal can be reached with this estate. I mean, he's not going to be making many more new movies that are going to be raking in millions upon millions upon millions. I mean, this is going to, I think that a deal with the estate is well within reach if there's a will for it.
And then again, he could have already signed all his likeness rights away. We don't know that.
I'm sure it was explored, folks. Yeah.
I'm sure that the Marvel deal is similar to what they got for the Star Wars deal, and a lot of these actors, they probably have them sign away their likeness rights early on.
Yeah.
Revcore says she couldn't make the game Marvel Avengers sell. Her comic can't sell. She is rebooted each time, but didn't work. Give up this character. Go new. Didn't they also have like an animated series of her in the works that got canceled as well?
I don't know, but I will say this about of course, talking about Miss Marvel.
Yes,
I would go a bit further. It's not that she couldn't make the game Marvel's Avengers sell. I think that Marvel's Avengers sold less because Miss Marvel had such a prominent role in it.
Yes, and if you wanted to play the game in some parts, you had to play as Miss Marvel. So you weren't given the choice as a lot of people weren't fond of that. They felt that she was kind of inserted in there and she wasn't truly part of the universe, let's say, yet. And so they, didn't care for it, and it was a big problem, and a lot of people were disappointed in that.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that she killed the game.
Well, I think there's more to Captain Marvel's being marketed to all of us, and it has to do with a different kind of insertion. And I said it. Yep.
No, I think that game had some other issues as well. I'm not saying that wasn't.
It would always get jammed up on me. Did you ever play Valiant? Because it would always get I would always
no.
Get stuck.
But if this is the one I'm thinking of, this is the one that the president of Square actually recently came out and did a bit of a mea culpa on because of the construct of the game. I think it had a lot of.
It had bugs.
It had a lot of bugs, or this is the one I'm thinking of. It's also the one that had a lot of additional, like you had to pay for upgrades.
Yep.
And was that? Yeah, that's what it was.
Yep. You're right.
You could not, and it was frustrating to a lot of people. And they're trying to fix this now to remove a lot of that or alter a lot of that. So that's the one I'm thinking of. But look, you're going to get these characters anyway. I mean, look, we're getting Riri Williams. I mean, they're introducing her in Black Panther 2, and we got the announcement of the Ironheart show today. So I mean, this is supposed to be replacing.
Or rather, we got the re-announcement, and this is something that Kevin Feige apparently thinks that people are going to embrace the same way that they embraced the real Iron Man.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
There is no replacement for Iron Man. You can never replace Iron Man. Never.
Or Mexican Iron Man.
Watch all the Halloween costumes that the little girls won't buy. Yeah.
And I think they could have done a lot with this Miss Marvel character. They dropped the ball on this. This could have been a very interesting character, and they keep forcing this awkwardness on her. And I don't see her as an awkward character. I think they're kind of turning her into something that is just unappealing to most people, but what they want to see her as. But it's a shame. She could have been a great breakout character, and they just messed it up.
Well, that's probably how a lot of the white people that created her, or who live in their little bubble, view people that aren't white a lot of the time. I'm just putting that out there. Callum Lyle says, I'm starting to wonder if Disney is secretly trying to prove that women can't direct superhero movies. It almost feels like that, doesn't Callum? They're not doing them any favors anyway, that's for sure. Again, Chloe Zhao was not a good choice for Eternals.
Well, give them a hand for at least shit canning Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron.
We'll see if that allegedly. But it's They did like the same thing with the Dumb and Dumber's Star Wars trilogy. That was also like delayed indefinitely, and it was never heard from again.
Ryan Johnson, yeah. I mean, they have a tendency to go back on this and fix these things.
Speaking of redos, Edgy Number One says, "I'm surprised they're not redoing The Rocketeer." Oh, but they are.
Exactly, they are. So you spoke too soon, and you are getting a gender bent remake.
We talked about that on a previous show. Ugh.
So yeah, female Rocketeer is in
that's
development.
the cartoon, Andre. That's gender and race bent, and then they're doing in the new Rocketeer reboot, it's a black character, but I'm not so sure if it's a gender or a race swap because I think it's actually based on an actual character.
Wait, it's gender and race swapped?
In the cartoon, it was, yes.
Okay.
But it was a more modernized version of it, if I remember right. But they are doing a new movie, and the Rocketeer will actually be one of the Tuskegee Airmen or some shit like that.
But a female?
Yeah, it was something
Airman?
like that.
No. The movie's a guy.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
But he's black.
Gotcha.
The show is a little black girl.
Okay, the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we straight?
And then the only white problematic white male Rocketeer is the original one, who will never be spoken of again.
You know, the one that actually fought the Yahtzees and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mecha J says, all these sequels, reboots, and remakes, where's the originality, I think he's trying to say. Yeah, Mecha J, that was kind of our point last night on Mead, because I knew we were going to hitting all this Disney stuff this morning. It was just like, you know what, let's just talk about the fact that not just Disney alone, but like everything across the board is all just a bunch of reboots and remakes. We're not getting hardly anything original coming up here. Like last night alone, we mentioned like 5 revivals, reboots, remakes. I think it was, or 6 or more, wasn't it, Mike? I don't know, it's quite a few.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that I'm going to go back to the conversation earlier that when Cameron was here and Valiant and Culture and we were all talking, if this is the slate that they're banking on to make Disney Plus go somewhere, that the reaction that RM had about the way she feels when she goes to say Netflix and how they show their new products and like versus Disney Plus, I mean, RM, don't you think like they're doomed? I mean, isn't the service kind of doomed?
I think they are doomed. I mean, you know, I like going onto Netflix and seeing what the top 10, you know, shows were that day and them kind of forcing new material, you know, or if it's not new material, maybe it's stuff I haven't seen already, but, you know, kind of promoting things that you might not have seen before or things that you might like. You know, it's all about this development of what you're expecting to see on a streaming service. And I am dying to see all those, you know, those special features from these movies. And it's just not really in there, but we know they have them. We know they have such an incredible catalog of material and we're not seeing it. So that's what I was expecting that we would eventually see. And the making of, you know, of not maybe recently made making of series, but even the old ones from the videos when they were made before. You know, this is what, as fans, I'm trying to see that sort of stuff. And you know, the rest of it, it looks incredibly clean and crisp on the page. But what they're giving you is, it's just, they need to add more substance to it. And I understand how someone with children would enjoy Disney Plus because their children would obviously get a chance to watch all of the wonderful programming for children that's on there. But, you know, it's the adults who are going to be, adults too want to see some things as well. And I think they need to have greater development on maybe in the adult side.
Yeah, and speaking of, I know, you know, coming from the Burnett work, Robert has said the same thing himself quite a few times because even stuff that he's worked on, like the Tron documentary and stuff, he's like, why isn't it on there? And I agree with him. There's a lot of great stuff that should be on there. And to me, if they really wanted me to think about getting rid of, you know, my physical media collection, which I never fucking would do, but, you know, if they even wanted me to make me think about it, they'd have to start putting all that crap up there. That's the thing is, I'm not going to get rid of any of my old stuff. Why? Because I still have DVD copies of stuff because of just mainly the special features, because they quit carrying a lot of that stuff over the years. And the same thing here. I agree with you. We don't have any of that stuff here for any of the classic films. Even the Marvel stuff doesn't really have anything outside of newer stuff that they just put on Disney Plus, and that's it. It's kind of lame.
Pretty much. Not much else to say about that. So yeah, preserve your physical media. And after that, the next super chat is from, let's see, Callum Lyle, who said in reference to Sneakerella, the fairy godmother will be a hermaphrodite. And Melvin Belliard also suggests that for the role of fairy godmother in Sneakerella will be played by Shaq. So, yeah.
Is that true, or is that
no? It might be, but I don't think that you'll get him to do that. But maybe who knows?
Sorry, I was on the phone.
Yeah, and Troy Pacelli says for $5, Cinderfella was a comedy, but it had a darker underlying message. The cool, suave version was kind of a jerk. Very cerebral film, really. So yeah, that was Cinderfella. And Corsair Raven, he shares his feelings, saying this Sneakerella crap is some grade A horse crap. And Mecha J points out that Disney Plus equals direct to DVD 2.0.
Yeah. I'm getting those Eisner era vibes here for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bambi 2, the return of Bambi's mother. Here we come.
Well, no, actually, Bambi 2 was one of the few that was actually decent because it was about Bambi being raised by his dad, who was played by Patrick Stewart. But no, like that was the fear. No, I'm talking more shit like Cinderella 2 and 3 and Little Mermaid 2 and 3 and stuff like that. Yeah.
And other completely hopeless stuff like
and then we got Adam, or wait, did we get this one? Oops.
Yes, Paris Plain, my countryman, says for love, for levity, for loyalty. Please laugh with the power of 1,000 suns. I love you all. Oh, well, thank you. Andre, please scream with the power of 1,000 suns. Well, maybe
I don't know if you can really scream
dwarfs, but yeah, no, I don't think screaming.
I think you're more. And in fact, I think you're supposed to feel it more than you.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't. And I like how Mike says it because he says it like in a Spanish version.
Yes, I like.
Yeah,
that
Mike, you do it. You do it. Say it with.
I didn't hear anybody screaming it, but
give us with the.
That's not how you did it earlier,
Spanish
Mike.
Passion.
MEitM?
Yeah,
yes.
I was gonna say now you're just emulating Andre. Before you did it like that, yeah.
Yeah, MEitM.
That sounds awesome.
Are you blushing yet?
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Then we had Adam THM who says, how long is it going to take for pixie dusters to realize Disney still is hurting hard for the pandemic? Well, they're hurting more from just that. They were in a really tough place when they went into this. They needed Disney Plus to take off. They needed the Fox acquisition to pay off. They needed their parks to start, paying in. And all these things happened at the worst possible fucking time. Like Disney's one of those companies that's so big that it can never fail. We're reaching a point where that may not be the case. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go under, but
everything that is too big to fail, it's going to fail at some point.
When you line all these things up like they are right now with these you have too many factors that are knocking dominoes down that if one more big bad move on Disney's part, it could fuck it all up.
Oh, they're not going to be buying anything else for a while.
No.
Well, will they decide to lease some of the rights? I don't even know if that's the right word.
I don't think that there's any way that any of that will make them more money.
JPEG saved their ass basically by pushing all this shit back and reevaluating everything. Right at that moment, that saved them from spending probably butt tons of money.
And yes. Oh, Tom, you're hitting the nail on the head. I was about to say, when I read the financial report, it dawned on me why he's pushing these things back. And it's in part of it's all connected with the woke and all that. It's cash flow. They have two problems. Number one, they can't do the cash flow and hope that the profit comes back because the recent experience is it's not. And number two, which is that in terms of like positioning, they've got to let the cruise ships and the parks, they've got to generate cash from things that they know generate cash because their credit rating is going to let them get these big ads. They're not going to be able to get $100, $300 lines of credit for a movie.
They haven't had a hit this year.
Exactly.
No, and they're already in the chill. They've got a new boat dropping in the ocean in a few months. They got 2 more boats dropping in the ocean in the next 2 years.
Plus the big Star Wars thing and all that business. That's my point. Is you could say Shang-Chi maybe made them a little money or it was a little profitable. I don't even think that was the case.
They didn't say that.
They didn't say that exactly, Mike. I don't think that they have had anything this year pan out for them at all. And Eternals is going to be a bigger disaster than Shang-Chi was, which was a bigger disaster than Black Widow was. And all three of those films.
The one thing I would argue would be Black Widow, if and only because of the primary
Disney
concurrent release, $125 million.
Valiant, how much money did they leave on the table, though?
Well,
for
again,
many various fucking reasons. I mean, go look and see how that video is selling right now. I bet it's not that great. Because most people can go watch it right now on Disney Plus. Black Widow,
no doubt. But I'm just saying, purely from a theatrical release. No, I thought that's what you meant. No,
and before this, I already noticed that their video sales were on a downward trend, which already meant they were starting to lose ground with a core base audience.
Yeah, they're trying to replace a lot of that with regular subscription revenues on Disney Plus. And they're hoping that by the time they reach 2024, the end of fiscal 2024, when they project that's when they'll reach the profitability mark with that endeavor, that all of that revenue that, if it was $1 billion a year in gross revenues of Blu-ray sales of various Disney properties. I don't remember what the last one was, but they're hoping that billion or a significant portion will have transferred into systematic revenues, subscription revenues for Disney Plus. So, like I said, we're kind of in a wait and see. We got to wait and see what's going to actually wind up.
No, but I think you're right, Valiant. I think the fact that Black Widow was that $30 premium title, and probably the only one that did make them a decent amount of money, and that's where where Chapek was confident enough to go out and say, we're not closing the door yet on this day and date stuff.
Right, and he shouldn't, even if he really intends to. I don't think he should, just because you don't want to take that off the table completely. You always want to leave.
I think that was him asserting himself there.
I think that's I think so too.
Well, there was that.
That was him basically saying that everyone stay in line, because if not, your movie is mysteriously going to underperform because we'll put it straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he didn't intend it that way. I'm just saying, even if he hadn't, even if he knows he was going to do something one way or the other, I would still, in his position, say that we're leaving all of our options open. That's what you should say.
Well, as opposed to what they had been saying is my point, because, he'd been getting a lot of pushback for this, just like Collard had. And you really kind of think about it, those two are kind of the poster boys for this entire idea. Universal, what's his face, the guy over at Universal was part of it, but then he backed off like a motherfucker. And they were like, oh, no, we're doing a 120-day window now. So, which is funny, which makes me laugh about this whole thing, because Universal was the ones who started it all. Yep. And they're the ones who have the longest window now, because I think they learned that they were going to hurt themselves in the long run. I think Trolls, as much as they were dancing about getting a little bit of money in their pocket for a few days there, they went, oh, shit, when they realized we're not going to make any more money on this movie now. This is it. This is done. We're done. There's no ancillary market to this. It's over. And again, I think Chapek, not so much what you were saying, Andre, is like, oh, don't, I think it's more so he's saying that I'm right. You guys were wrong. The only reason Black Widow made any fucking money was because of what I did. And it was probably the same thing for the Cruise movie and the Cruella movie and everything else. If there was any profit to those movies, it was because he dropped them on day and date and Disney Plus. Now, that doesn't mean he's right in the long run, but let's be real here. Their whole goal with Disney Plus is to kill video. Disney is not, who used to be a very big proponent of home video, has backed off like a motherfucker. Like they, in a year where there has been more home video produced than any other year since Blu-ray's been introduced. We've had more Blu-rays produced this year. And that was partially because of the pandemic, I'm sure. But the other side of it is that there is still a home market. And I think they underestimated that in a big way. And even though Walmart's trying to kill it, Best Buy's trying to kill it, the online sales are huge. They're, there's people that are complaining because they're waiting because the discs are backed up. Like there's still people who are, get this, Andre, people are spending like upwards of $100 on eBay for the Steelbook of Scream.
I believe that.
Yeah, I can see that barely, but yeah.
That's how, because they can't get them out there. They can't produce them fast enough. And I keep telling people, don't spend that money. In 2 months, there are going to be plenty of them. And I know this for a fact because we ran into the same thing with Indiana Jones and Star Trek. They couldn't get enough of them produced to hit the market, to get enough people, because people wanted them so much. And now you can get them. 2 months after the fact, you can get them. Just wait, folks. Don't spend that kind of money right now. But my point is there's still a market for it. And I think that's where they're short-sighted on that.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
And they should be
Not gonna
treating
argue
Disney
that.
Plus and HBO Max like HBO and stuff back in the day. They should not be dropping these things day and date. But at the same time, in the world we're living in right now, Chapek was proven right through this whole endeavor, whether or not it had more to do with, you know, the fact that nobody gave a shit about Shang-Chi and the Eternals, I think was the bigger problem here in the long run. And he's probably right. They can't be spending that kind of money on those movies. And I'm sure that's why he pushed a lot of this stuff back, so they could reevaluate what they're doing.
Well, I've said that in the last several videos I've done on this, and it's all about, if I'm Chapek, I'm sitting there right now going, how the hell are we spending $150 million? And really, the production budget for Shang-Chi was $200 million. They got a tax
Exactly.
credit.
Yeah, you're going exactly where I was going.
$200 million on that kind of movie, $200 million on the Eternals, and Venom. Let There Be Carnage goes out there with wall-to-wall post-VFX CGI, and they spent $110. What the fuck are we doing?
Oh, Dune. Dune's another great example.
Yeah.
According to Ann Sarnoff, only cost $130 million.
Bullshit.
Oh, I thought it was 160.
That's
That
what
was
they were.
165.
No, Ann Sarnoff came out and said it cost $130 million.
No shit.
That maybe with some tax credit. I don't know for sure.
Could be.
Point being is, you're right, Valiant. Shang-Chi only made $400 and some million worldwide. I think it might be closer to 5 now, but still not. It's not going to hit
430.
5.
It's right at
Yeah,
430.
it's never going to hit 5.
It's already on Disney Plus. It's done. It's over.
It's done. That movie, I don't care what you say, is not profitable by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Not by a long shot. And as I've been saying here, they can see right now the Eternals is going to go down that same road.
Oh, it's even worse.
Because once Ghostbusters comes out next week, it's fucking toast. As much as I'm seeing, Ghostbusters has been trending for the last 3 or 4 days on Twitter.
It's worse for the Eternals. It costs $50 million more than Shang-Chi. And
That's my point.
And it's going to underperform Shang-Chi's box office.
That's my point,
by
exactly.
A small amount. Yeah, it's worse than Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi and Eternals didn't have a day and date on Disney Plus to bring in $30 a pop either.
Remember I told you the matinee I'm going to next week for Ghostbusters? I looked at my phone this morning. It's half sold out.
Oh, shit.
For next Thursday.
I got to get my tickets.
I mean, and I'm out in the middle of I'm out in the obscure part of South Carolina. I'm telling you, this thing's going to do great.
I feel bad for Script because he can't go see it.
Nor can I for a while.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to see it before you?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I can. Yeah, it doesn't open there till like December 5th or something.
Oh.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nope.
Really?
It's like a reverse Dune situation?
Yeah,
it's Sony.
Venom, though,
and so this the same thing. Yeah, same. Well, it's not as bad as Venom that I think comes here next week. Yeah, actually, I can see Venom the same time as you can see Ghostbusters.
Basically, like a week after it comes out there, it'll be on digital probably.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. I think it was December 5th that it comes here.
You know, and the other funny thing about Shang-Chi is the fucker leaked online like 3 days before it dropped on Disney Plus.
I wonder how the hell that happened.
Gee.
So that even hurt him, really, if you think about it. Look, the upside of this...
It's nothing. It's
and not only did it leak, I think it was a 4K leak.
No, I think it was 1080p, but it could have been a 4K one out there too. But still, I knew it was out there. But regardless, I guess the only upside to this is maybe they could see that Shang-Chi will have strong video sales in comparison, but I doubt it because it's already on Disney Plus, as Valiant just said. So they're killing that, and it's free. You don't have to pay anything extra for it. It's right there. So, or we're not free. It's you got to pay for the account, but I mean, it's not the extra $30 is my point. Then we got Audrey 3. I love that. There's a lot more than 3 Audreys now because Audrey made a bunch of baby Audreys. These writers remind me of the Smug Alert South Park episode where the smug people keep sniffing their own farts and getting off on it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was one of the greatest South Park episodes because it really nails Hollywood on the head.
Stan, can you still hear me? All right, keep the line going. I'm walking into San Francisco.
That was really good, by the way.
That was a pretty
Anyway,
darn good one.
Ghostbusters Afterlife comes in my location December 3rd.
Oh Lord. So does that mean that we all got
That means that you are going to cover it without me.
It's
I was gonna
2
say,
weeks
so
after
does
we
my.
got it.
Well, we're all going to be back here in time for Mead next Thursday to talk about it. So should we just do it on the main channel? I suppose. As a
Yeah,
round
sure,
table?
of course. Yeah, obviously.
Well, let's see. It's going to come out. What's the early previews? Is what 6 o'clock Thursday next week?
Some places are getting it earlier. Mike is lucky enough to get to see it at 1 o'clock. I'm going to get to go see it at 4. Hopefully, if it's not sold out.
Damn, I'm not going to get that early. But
See, that's the thing. I'm going to be hightailing it back here just for the normal Mead time.
I don't even know if I have a theater open yet around me. I still got to go look.
My problem is I just got to drive far enough. But anyway, yeah, thank you for that, Audrey 3. And then we got Rod Thunderheart, who said, "Hail, Midnight's Edge in the morning. Has anyone had the opportunity to watch Rocky and Drago yet?" No, I bought it, but I haven't got a chance to watch it. I just bought it this morning when I realized it was out. It's supposed to be out and on demand, and at least according to Slides, it is. It was out 2 days ago, and I didn't know about it till today.
Yeah, do you know what I didn't know about? The first screening of Venom, Let There Be Carnage in Norway has a advanced screening today. You know when that screening is?
Now?
Yeah, exactly. Right now, in this second, it begins now. So I'm not gonna make that.
No, you're not gonna make that.
Yeah,
it's not that good, Andre. It's good. It's just not. It's not. At this point,
well, I waited this long.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, you're not gonna miss out on anything that stupendous. Yeah. Dahawk666 says the carriage will be pulled by a giant rabbit chicken. Also, why are they rebooting Cinderella? Don't we already have one? They pronounce Dayhawk, by the way. It's pronounced Dayhawk. Okay.
Dayhawk. Yeah, there we go.
Well, with the Cinderella thing, like with just was kind of saying, like, girls love Cinderella. It's a classic tale. It's been revamped, revised, redone at least a dozen or better times, and I'm being probably conservative on that. Outside of maybe A Christmas Carol, I'm hard pressed to think besides Dracula of a story that's been redone so many times on screen than Cinderella. Like, there are so many different versions of Cinderella, it's not even funny. It may even beat those other two that I just said. Unless somebody else will challenge that.
Well, it's not going to be Dracula, but beyond that, yeah, it's going to be pretty much anything.
Well, like I said, I think between Christmas Carol and Dracula are the two most adapted pieces of literature we have. Christmas Story and Dracula. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cinderella is a close third, if not right in the middle there somewhere.
I'm going to watch it. So
yeah, it's got an audience. I'm not saying it don't.
And I watched the last two Cinderellas. There was one that Disney made, I guess maybe 6 years ago or so. I watched that one and I liked it. And I watched the recent one. I can't remember who the actress is in it. And it was great. It was a musical.
Well, Sony just did one too, didn't they? That was the one
that must be the one, right, Tom?
Yeah, with the gender swapped fairy godmother or whatever.
Yes,
I think that was Sony that produced that one, if I'm not mistaken.
I liked it so.
Well, and that's the thing. And they did the one with Whitney Houston and Brandy. What was it, like 20 years ago now? And
yeah, that one wasn't bad either. Anything with Whitney Houston singing in it is going to be a hit. So.
And then they've done at least 3 or 4 different updated versions in the last 20 years too. I know that. So like, it's a story that just whatever. That one don't bother me.
I think the woman's name, it's Camila Cabellos. Camila Cabellos played the Cinderella character, and Billy Porter plays the fairy godmother.
Yes.
And he's outrageously popular, on Broadway, and he recently had that show.
That's the one.
He was in Pose, which is a different type of show, but the music in the Cinderella, I mean, I still sing that song occasionally, so because I liked it so much, so it was a hit for me. But I don't know.
The thing is, you even have like how many different musical versions, right? Between the Rodgers and Hammerstein, the original Disney version, and then so on and so many more.
And the original Cinderella. I mean, I still, I remember seeing that.
That's
movie
what I mean. Yeah, the Disney one. Yeah.
So yes, you're right. I definitely will be watching Sneakerella.
I can't get behind the title, but yeah. SJ Shady says, wasn't there supposed to be a programming for more focused adults on D+? I seem to remember talk about this, but nothing ever materialized. Well, there is on the Stars or whatever. Star
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
And
It's
they did
not
announce quietly after all this shit. We got a picture of the new Predator prequel. It just shows some girl standing in the midst, and you can kind of see a predator behind her. It's not even worth me digging up. That's the one that has the Native American girl, Andre. The prequel.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the prequel.
So that's coming to
this
Hulu.
centuries ago. Yeah. That's like because in the US it's Hulu. That's going to be like the more adult-oriented thing, whereas internationally it's Star. So much of the content that in the US goes to Hulu, internationally goes on Star. So that's like the more adult.
Or you could always use Surfshark.
Yeah, you could Surfshark that, but yeah.
Did Disney get FX in that deal?
Yeah. Yes, they did.
Oh yeah,
they did.
Disney Investor Day last year, they actually had an entire slate of FX shows that they announced.
That's right. They just didn't get the Fox network. Brandon, the anime guy, says new X-Men series. Oh hell no, fuck Disney. Yeah, I can understand being, especially if you know any of the stories past that point, because I don't. So like, I'm just kind of like after that, I'm just like, what is there? I don't know. Like Razor Fist pointed out, that's the year after they went bankrupt. So, because that was a couple, like right around the same time they killed Superman. And I just remember comics, to me, they turned me off because it was all about premium covers and variants and shit. And it was like, they were more worried about what was on the cover than what was actually in the book.
Oh, of course, it was the cover that sold the book.
Exactly.
Literally, when you can trick the retailers who were knowing participants in this.
Yeah, well, that's what you're doing. You're overstuffing the market full of shit where people are buying 10 copies of it because they think they're going to be able to send themselves to college or their kids to college on it. And now they're realizing that copy of Superman, The Death of Superman, is just worth less than what the fucking cover price is now, basically, because they mass produce so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And people kept them in good condition. Comics that are classic are only worth shit because moms threw them away. And people actually like fucking read them.
Yeah, here's like the thing, like ever since people really started collecting comics, no comic has really increased all that much in value. The comics still are valuable. Well, if anything, they're less valuable now than they were 5-10 years ago. So there's that. But also on top of that is the same issues that were valuable 20 years ago are the issues which are valuable now.
That's it.
Like I did a check I did like a check just for fun because I was checking if my white variant of Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 1, which was like the super duper rare thing, came out when it came out.
$7.
What was that?
$7 it was worth, wasn't it?
No. It was like worth like $300 or something like that. Yeah. but the challenge is that when you account for inflation, that's what I freaking paid for it at the time.
That's my point. Yeah, it's not worth anything more than you paid for that. Well, that was kind of the point I was making.
Yeah.
I have a comment on this as an avid comic book reader and collector now and then, which is that you have two problems. Number one is that the people that were into collecting, we're all getting older, and one by one, we're dying off. And number two, no one reads anything anymore. So, so
those that have anything that you want to super valuable that you think you can sell at some point, well, sell now because you're not going to buy there's not going to be like a younger collector that wants to buy your valuables.
Pretty much anything pre-1985 ain't worth shit. And chances are, unless it's something special, and in most cases, like you're talking like rare independents, like the few things that I have probably that are worth anything are like my older rare Ninja Turtle things. Like I've got a couple of things that are just, not, but they're not worth a shit ton, right? Like they're just worth a little bit more than your normal type of comic book from that era, just because they were less produced, right? And that's the main point.
I bet you'd love to have those signed by Kevin Eastman.
Fuck yes. But I mean, I don't even have some of the good ones. I've got like, I've got a few of the older ones, but I don't even have any of the original printings or reprints from, I wish. Like those are worth some money. But that's what I'm saying. Once you get past that era, unless you're getting into like independent comics and shit that were like only produced in small amounts, a lot of that stuff, anything Marvel, DC ain't worth shit. And I'm sure Gary would tell you the same thing. You can buy like full runs of certain things for decent amounts of money. Like, I mean, I've even gone to him and asked on certain things because the only things that I really kind of collect that are kind of oddball is I like to do movie adaptations, right? Like, because that used to be our home video back in the day, especially because I was in a rural area and we didn't get movies until they were 2-3 months after they were dropped. So that was my way of seeing a movie for the longest time, is I would just go and buy the comic book adaptation. And then the cool thing is in the long run is you would usually get like deleted scenes and other stuff in the comic book that didn't wind up into the movie. So there's that kind of collectability of it. And they're only just run once, and they didn't usually do, a bunch of them. So like those are kind of worth a little bit more sometimes. But even those are still 20, 30, 40 bucks at the most. So you're not talking any grand amount, right? Like, again, any comics that you want that are worth any kind of hundreds or thousands of dollars, you got to go far, far back, or very small run prints, or very limited prints, like the first 5 Ninja Turtle comics that were run, 2,000 prints.
Or you have to go so up in quality that they're overpriced.
Exactly, yeah. Which, like, I mean, or if it's something signed and it's graded and all that kind of stuff, yeah, but you're paying for the grading part of it and all that kind of shit.
Yeah. That, of course, that's worth it, though, because, like, I have a couple of things that are signed.
No, I agree with you, yeah.
And they may not have much market value, but they have value to me.
That's a difference, right? See, like, a lot of the stuff I have is more of a personal value than a collectible value.
Yeah.
I got to review it as a film like that. Yeah, that it's signed and it's personal value to me. Some of the original Valiant comics and things like that from the early 90s that I really liked. But yeah, I mean,
is that where you get your name from?
Part of it.
Oh, there you go.
I'm SMRT.
And like, for instance, my signed reprint of Conan the Barbarian #1, which is signed by Roy Thomas, it may not have like any market value because, one, the comic is a reprint and not an original, and 2, the CGC wasn't there, so it's not part of like their yellow cover signature series. But I know it's real because I met the man and shook his hand as he signed it, so it has value to me.
Exactly. Yeah. Then Primer says, Master of the Universe Revelation Season 2 premiere in 11 days. I can't wait for the in-depth group discussion in Mexican Iron Man's epic rant.
Fuck, I'm dreading that already. That reminds me, we have to do all of the reaction videos too. Yeah.
Well, we got.
I don't think I can bring myself to watch it.
So we got a few things to hopefully get done. We got so much shit we never get done. Diego says, Andre, if this panel were Latin Americans, they would be massively excited before episode 1, where it could lead to civil war, literally.
Wait, what?
I think which one is he talking about?
What are you talking about, Diego?
I think you meant when you were making the fun of the shit. I can't remember what it was.
Ms. Marvel?
No, it was something else. He said that
X-Men?
No, he added X to something though. I can't remember what it was.
Cinderellix?
That was Cinderellix, I think it was. Yes.
Maybe.
Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah. He also told me on Twitter. He told me that Disney has completely missed the mark on the weight of their brand because they forgot the generation's age. Because in Latin America, the Disney brand is so entrenched into kids and everyone growing up, whereas in the US, people have moved on to other things, to manga and stuff like that.
Michael Miller says Charlie Cox is back in the She-Hulk trailer. Now,
has that dropped now recently while we've been live?
I must have, because I'm going to tell you something else. I knew something about this. That's where I'm not so sure, like the whole thing with like Campia is I think he got in trouble because he jumped the gun. Those pictures weren't probably supposed to come out till this next week. I bet you they're going to be in Watch. They're going to be in, what is it? Film. What is the magazine they usually give the Entertainment Weekly? Or
Empire or something like that?
Yeah, one of those. I bet you they're going to be in one of those. You watch the same exact
people have been talking about
pictures
Charlie Cox being in that movie for a while now. I mean,
yeah, we've known about that and the possibility of even She-Hulk maybe even being in there has been rumored too. I'm curious to hear what Andre has to say because I learned a few things too about.
We did.
And you're right. We knew this was going to happen. So yeah, it almost pretty much proves the Campia. We already knew they were real, but it like confirms it now. They are fucking real. Because he held one or two back too, I guess. So
yeah. So yeah, I think that he got in trouble for that. Like, you weren't supposed to drop this yet.
Yeah, I don't think he was supposed to drop them yet.
Yeah, or like, yeah, there's been a miscommunication. This wasn't your exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know how much trouble he's going to get into, but it'll be interesting.
I hope he gets in a lot. Oops, sorry.
I don't know if it'll be that much.
I think the only trouble he's going to be in is like with his own audience.
I mean, well, that's not true,
the studios
Andre.
too.
Sony will send him a letter.
Yeah,
Sony
well,
and
that too,
Disney
but
could get pissy with him, but since he is such a good little boy,
that's what I'm thinking. That they'll let this one
slap
slide
on the wrist kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think so.
slap on the wrist. Don't do it again, and we move on from this.
Joachim Stark says X-Men the animated series made me stop reading comic books. I watched 2-3 episodes, and they changed Rogue's powers, made me drop Marvel as a whole. Are you talking about the original animated series? Really? I thought the original animated series was pretty. I mean, again, I'm just going off of memory.
Well, there have been several. So you, Kim, are you talking about?
That's
the
what I'm saying. I wonder if you're talking about a newer
one.
one, because I thought the original '90s X-Men series followed the comics pretty faithfully. From my
and anyway, if that one animated series would cause you to drop Marvel as a whole, like, I wouldn't blame you today, but like, whoa, you stand by principles even then, I have to say.
Because like Audrey 3 just said, Rogue is awesome in the 90s cartoon. I thought you must be talking about a later one.
Yeah. Something that's not so awesome, though, is that our good friend Valiant Renegade, unfortunately, has to be leaving. But everyone, go and check out his channel. Link is in the description.
He released a new video this morning. Valiant, can you talk about it?
Oh, well, for those who didn't catch the opening of the show, you can go kind of catch the recap on that video where we talked about the Disney quarterly earnings report and some of the interesting tidbits in there, kind of just a quick review of the numbers and where we think things are going, and just to talk about a little bit of the stuff that we talked about in the beginning of this show. So if anybody wants to go check that out, it will be over there on my channel at Valiant Renegade. And I think you guys probably have the link in the chat or on the video itself here, so I'm sure they can find us. So anyway, thanks so much. Good to see everybody again, and catch you guys and ladies next time.
Take care, Valiant.
Bye.
All right, take care.
And Mike, would you say hello to Saggy before she loses it?
Oh, I'm not looking at the chat. Hi, Saggy. Hi, Amor. Hi, Princess. How are you? I wasn't looking at the chat stream, so that's my.
All right, I'm still trying to scan here to see what Joachim said. But in the meantime, we have one from No One of Consequence. If you want to read that one, Andre, while I'm looking for that.
Yeah, No One of Consequence says for $20. Thank you so much. My dad and I saw Dune yesterday. We both thought the film was great. He's read the books numerous times, and he said the film stuck to the books very well. I get why Andre thought it was either Zimmer's best work or his worst. Now you see, perfect. It's like so it certainly fosters discussion. I will absolutely.
It's funny how much discussion has been around the fucking soundtrack. It's weird.
Yeah. And we'll be getting more of it because, like he said, that I already started doing the score.
It's because he's just going to reuse the same shit.
Well, probably that's what he meant. And then Nicholas Horton says the animated 90s X-Men series did cover the major storylines from the comics: Days of Future Past, Age of Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix Saga, etc. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but it was a fairly decent adaptation of it. I would have thought so.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know where else they could go with it here. That's what I'm trying to know. I guess if there's only 2 decent storylines after that, woohoo. I mean, like, yay. And I come off like a huge douchebag just today? Man, that means normally I'm not. Weird. I thought usually I'm normally a douchebag.
What did you do? What did you do?
I don't know. I'm in a bit of a shitty mood today. That might be it.
Really?
I'm in a shitty mood every day, though. So, John Apocalypse says Marvel Zombies could be cool if, like, HBO Spawn.
It could be cool.
They'll never go to that extent. It'll never.
That's my worry.
Yeah, if it was on Hulu or something, I'd say, oh, maybe they are going to go a little, but no. It's going to be Disney-fied zombies. Mecha J says, I'm a huge fan of the 90s X-Men, the animated series, and even more can't excited for the news because it's being made in this. Oh, I can't get more excited. Yeah, I think he's saying is he's not excited because of the current climate. Yeah, and that's where I'm at, Mecha J, is like, I'd be more excited if it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the problem, that for everything that you normally would be excited for, just it being announced right now at this particular point in time is that cause for you to say, like, oh,
was
no,
another
not
one
now.
too. Like, I guess Animaniacs wasn't that bad, but like the little bits I watched, I'm just like, yeah, this is too woke for me. Cedar Stuff says, last week, why is Disney Plus growth 80% under the prediction? Today, now I understand. Underwhelming. Exactly, Cedar Stuff. And I mean, I guess I can give them the benefit of the doubt that a lot of this is lackluster because they're dealing with everything being shut down, but they really should have had something with a bang here, because this should have been the stuff that they were planning to launch Disney Plus with. Because if you remember, Disney Plus got launched early, so it took them a little bit to kind of catch up, and we saw the same thing with HBO Max. They were playing catch up. Well, HBO Max now, on the other hand, has got a lot of stuff coming this next year that I think is going to make a lot of this stuff look pale in comparison. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Let's hope for their sake.
Even Paramount has better shit coming. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Ditto.
Yeah, that has Beavis and Butthead.
Yep.
And a bunch of South Park.
And I'm more excited for Beavis and Butthead than honestly anything that
too.
Disney Plus is coming.
Right? Well, that's kind of why I used them last night as the...
I'm excited for the Star Wars programs, but for the rest of what's on there, it's not grabbing my attention.
None of their movie announcements really have anything going for them. Pinocchio is the only one that I'm kind of sort of interested in, but I want to wait to see a trailer. I want to wait to see what Zemeckis is up to, because again, here's another director who I used to love and I would trust every damn thing they'd done. But post Beowulf, I don't know. Right? Like, what has he done that is really, even stuff like Polar Express, I didn't really care for. I know some people like it, but he's not done anything since then I really cared for. I didn't really care for that Christmas Carol. He's kind of been hung up on this, doing this weird Uber live, like, kind of looks like realistic, but not CGI shit. And it's just not really jiving with me. I don't know about you guys, but.
Yeah, no, I haven't. Yeah, no, I've never liked his like animated style.
That's what
never
I mean,
liked
yeah.
it. Yeah, it's like, for instance, I do like his Christmas Carol. But
It's
I was
okay.
like thinking, if only this was live action.
Exactly.
If only this was live action.
Like, that's my point. Yeah, like even Beowulf would have been bitching if it was live action. And it's almost so close that you're just like, why didn't he just do this live action? I don't get it. Like, just because it feels off.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. It would have been better as a live action thing. Everything he has done animated would have been better live action. So I don't know why he did it.
Maybe he's going through a Cameron phase.
Maybe.
Let's hope he gets out of it. Maybe Pinocchio will at least be mostly live action, and then just Pinocchio and the animal characters and like Jiminy Cricket and the fox and the cat and all them will be CGI, but the rest of the people will be people.
I don't know. I'm still gonna have a hard time knowing that if it's if there's wood involved, if there's live action, you know what I mean?
You know, and I'm sitting here assuming that Tom Hanks is gonna play Geppetto. Watch him play like a bunch of different fucking characters. I'm not kidding. Like, I joked about that. But watch him play Geppetto, Jiminy Cricket. What's the name of the guy? The circus guy. I just forgot his name. Jesus Christ. Anyway, all the other guys in the movie. Like all the other bad guys in the movie and stuff. Watch him play everybody but the kid part and the fairy godmother and a few random bits. That'll probably just like fucking the train movie. And it'll be like, really, dude? Anyway, that's about right, Cedar Stuff. Sorry. Melvin Belviard says, with a very generous $50 super chat. Thank you so very much for
yes,
that.
Thank you. That is
Melvin
much appreciated.
always blowing us away with his generous super chat. Says, I'm someone who absolutely loved that X-Men show of the 90s. Next to Batman the Animated Series, this was as close to faithful adaptation of the classic X-Men stories. So them announcing a continuation would normally have me excited, but in this current day, I'm worried. Exactly, Melvin. That's exactly where I'm at. And as far as I know, like I said, yeah, and I think Joachim did come back and say it was a different series. I don't think he was talking about the 90s one. But yeah, because as far as I know, for the original 90s series, Andre, like this is one of the ones that comic fans hold up there as one of the best, right next to Batman the Animated Series.
That is what I've always heard.
Yeah, because outside of I think a few things they had to tame down for Saturday morning television, like that's it. Like it's pretty much straight on what they did in the comics from what I remember. So
yeah,
like they had to tame down a little bit of the Dark Phoenix stuff, I think, from my recollection. But
yeah. Well, of course they had that.
It had to stay in that GPG-ish.
Exactly,
kind of
like for instance, in the animated Spider-Man series, I know that the Punisher, he was changed into a vampire killer there, so it's not a killer.
I forgot about that. Oh shit. Yeah, but I mean, I think even the X-Men, though, considering because it was shown a little later on Saturdays, and I know it had a pretty strong adult fan base too, that I think they did go a little bit more violent than they normally would with normally cartoons at that time. For my it's been a long time since I've seen the show. Do you remember, Mike? Because I think it was a bit more action oriented than a lot of the other stuff out there. They actually showed like violence where they had the mutants fighting each other and stuff, which was not normal.
Yeah. I mean,
they got around it probably because they were mutants, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, no, I was just going to say the thing about it is that I think the thing with the Marvel series versus the DC one is that with Marvel, I think it always felt like a little edgier and it was less popular. See, most people, well, at least when this stuff came up at the time, everybody was heavy DC, and I think that DC's always been kind of more mainstream per se. I think the Marvel universe, the cinematic universe, that's come out now recently has made Marvel mainstream, but it wasn't really like Marvel was always edgier and everything in terms of issues, superheroes, backgrounds, ethnicities. But it was never DC. DC from the moment Superman hit the screen, and I mean from the Batman TV show to Superman hitting the screen in 1978 or whatever it was, that's what just sort of said as DC is like all American Pie kind of thing. And Marvel, yeah, it definitely was more granular. That's the word I'll use.
Well, you're right, because actually Marvel was more adopted by like the hippie culture and stuff like that. It was more seen as kind of the non-mainstream, like DC was seen as the mainstream. Yeah.
Yep.
Peter Smigelski says you should make sure.
No, this one is for Mike. Mike has to read this one. Mike wanted to read this one, didn't you?
Oh yeah, sorry. Peter, this is my buddy, Peter Smigelski, for $5. You should make sure to differentiate the X-Men animated series between the 92 series and the 97 series. Oh, that's a good point. The 97 series is far inferior to the 92. You know what? He's bringing up a good point.
This is probably the one that my fellow Scandinavian brought up.
That's what I'm thinking now that you say that.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, I was just commenting on the 92.
Right,
Peter,
right.
You're completely right, Peter.
I think, though, here's my point, though. I think from the way they're promoting it, it is the 92 series, but they're picking up with the stories where they left off, basically, is the way I read it.
Yeah, that's the 92 series is the classics, so like it has to be that one.
And it basically, yeah, so then because they're getting the original voice cast back and all that business, and the picture they showed was of the 92 Wolverine.
Yeah.
So that's where my assumption lies, is that they're picking up the 92 series, but they're doing the stories that they didn't get to in that series, is what my understanding is.
Well, stay tuned, everybody. We'll definitely react to it.
That doesn't mean it's going to be good. I'm just saying that no, I don't think this is a revamp of the 97 series. I think this is the 92 series just picking up where they left off, kind of thing. If that makes sense. Hyperguyver 2 says 90s X-Men can still touch on Mutant Massacre, Inferno, Extinction Agenda, Executioner Song, Phalanx, and I probably said that wrong, and Onslaught. Yeah, some of these I'm kind of familiar with, but the rest of them I'm not. Okay, so at least there's a few things they can do. There you go. As long as they stay true to the material, that's the only way this is like a no-fail scenario. Is as long as they don't mess with the original source material, they're probably going to be fine. It's once they start to deviate from that. And that's the thing, is we know that they have a tendency to do that kind of shit now. That's the problem. Because that's the kind of shit we're hearing out of the Batman animated series situation. So, I don't know. Let's see here. I think somebody said Strange New Worlds premieres tonight, and I don't care.
Nope, we don't give a horse.
Stubble McShave sends in 50 South. That's Swedish, right?
That's Swedish krona, yeah.
Swedish krona, yeah. If you compare MCU to a rock band, they did a great first album with a lot of innovation ending with Endgame. The dreaded second album doesn't impress so far. Maybe I would say the first phase of the Marvel Universe is more like a couple of albums, perhaps. Guns N' Roses comes to mind, right? Like you had 3.4 albums if you count Use Your Illusion as 2 albums. Like bam, 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 just like holy shit.
Yeah, wasn't like that second album like a glorified single almost?
Yeah, Lies, and it was still a huge because it had fucking Patience and shit. Like they still managed to make it a huge hit. But then all of a sudden you get the Spaghetti Incident, which was all right, but it's a bunch of fucking it's a bunch of fucking remakes. So it's kind of what we're getting in the Marvel is like, we've seen all this shit before. Give us something new. It's all the same kind of stuff you're rehashing here in a little bit in some ways, and you're just doing it worse. And then how long do we have to wait for Chinese democracy? Is that what's next? Like, seriously? Is that us waiting for X-Men and then it being a big disappointment? So maybe the Guns N' Roses, that is probably a good analogy there.
Yeah, as Release McRacken says,
Phase 4, yes.
but
yes.
Get the Incident.
That's my point. So are we waiting for the inevitable Chinese democracy album, which is going to be like the X-Men we're all waiting for, and it just turns out to be this huge fucking disappointment?
I'm starting to think it might be Spider-Man No Way Home.
Well, we'll talk about that here in a little bit here. Unfortunately, we can't talk about it live on the air, though. I Cthulhu says, can we have Red Fox deep fake Black Panther? Kind of forever. Oh, Lord. That would be an interesting Black Panther, that's for sure. Melvin Belliard sends in another $20. Holy cow, thank you so much.
Yeah, Melvin is the sponsor of today's show.
What I don't get is, and I think this is a part 1 of 2, I'm imagining with that one there. What I don't get is in the MCU, Captain Marvel is basically a rumor because she shows up in the 90s, but isn't a hero yet. And then when she shows up in Avengers Infinity War, she shows up for like 5 minutes and then goes to space. I think you mean Endgame, right? Because she wasn't in Infinity War, was she?
No, she was in Endgame.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
She hadn't been introduced yet in Infinity War.
Yeah, well, and this goes back to Melvin to where we feel like, and I know you got a second part to this, but where I just want to say, like, I think this goes back to where what we said before, where I feel like a lot of things changed, and I think the Russos pushed back on the whole Captain Marvel business because I feel like the version we got is the Captain Marvel less version. Yeah. Because, and I even think that there's more to that because I said there was a video game that never seemed to surface where actually Rocket was the one that saved Tony and not Captain Marvel. So it feels like there's a whole other version of this movie we didn't get where she was probably inserted in other places and they swapped it around a little bit.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think
Let's go find, but there you have part 2. Yeah.
And then we got part 2 here. So how would she be how would she be her favorite hero? In the comics, Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel for years, so Kamala looking up to her made total sense. So yeah, I get what you're saying here. She's not really an established hero in this universe. Well, even in Endgame, she didn't really do anything to get any kind of notoriety, right? So you're making a very good, valid point.
The best thing that she did in Endgame was to get smacked down by Thanos.
Well, that's what I mean. She really hasn't
the audience
done anything.
Shared when it happened.
No, Melvin's 100% correct here. She has not done anything on Earth to constitute being a hero to Kamala. There's no reason why she would know who she is unless they do some massive write-up on her and something about Captain Marvel in the meantime that we don't know about that they reference. And it's like, why would anybody give a shit about this alien chick who showed up for 5 minutes? Where was she during Infinity War would be my first question.
Yeah, and why is she taking my motorcycle? This freaking chick. If you're an all-powerful
being, something to say, or are you just waving at somebody in the chat?
I was waving. One thing I am kind of curious though is what is the beef between her and the character from WandaVision? The one who goes to visit Wanda. I can't remember her name just now.
Oh, the one that everybody said should have been Captain Marvel, and I can't remember her name now. Somebody in the chat will get it here, but they're on the delay.
He's the one who says your brother was killed by Ultron.
Yeah. I can't think of her name now.
And during the series, there's some clear,
Monica Rambeau.
Yes, Monica Rambeau. There's some clear tension when someone brings up, Captain Marvel.
I beat the chat, by the way.
She kind of like I wouldn't say rolls her eyes, but there's definitely kind of this odd tension between, or it appears there's some sort of problem or something like that. So does anybody know why there is, or?
Nope.
No clue.
Well,
none whatsoever.
Actually, I do know. I do have a clue.
Yes.
Change of staff behind the scenes. That you've got, like, many of the old timers were kicked out, and new woke people came in, and with that, some of the continuity was lost, because the people that wrote many of the other things, they had been like involved with many of the other projects and stuff like that. But now you have people that work on one project, and they don't really know too much about the rest of the MCU. And so, ironically, with Kevin Feige now having full control, you have like more integration about the things that he personally oversees. But other things, details like that, they're going to slip through the cracks.
Well, it seems like she is, or at least I'm getting the impression that she's a controversial figure, even in the actual, series itself. Although it has, I don't know if it's what her background is, but I think that's very interesting that there seemed to be that tension, and I hope we see more of that.
Gotcha. Quatrina Senpai says, my white 7-year-old daughter loves Black Panther. Loves. She doesn't give a crap about Captain Marvel. Wokeism is racist, sexist, trash propaganda. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. That's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah. Kids are going to like what they want to like. Yeah. And they usually don't give a shit what color they are, what sex they are. It doesn't matter to them. It only matters when other people put those ideas in their head. That's the one thing that, they're right about, but they like to think that they're allowing their child to decide when you actually pay attention, they're not. They force the shit on them. Have you seen the videos of them like taking their, like, here, we're going to take our kid to the store and we're going to let them pick out a toy on their own. And we don't care if it's a girl toy or a boy toy. And then the first thing they do is drag them to the Barbie section. And it's like, okay, so you instantly put this in this kid's head that this is what they're getting no matter what. And then every time they try to go for something else, they're like, well, don't you want this instead? Well, don't you want no, I thought you were going to let the kid pick it out.
Evidently not.
See, that's the thing with my kid is like him and I are not into the same shit. You know what? And I didn't force that on him. Never did. I knew he was never going to be into the same stuff. And if I even tried to make him like the same stuff, it would just make him hate it. So over time, he eventually showed some interest in things like Star Wars and Marvel. And as he did, I allowed him to be introduced to it. If he got into it further, great. If he didn't, cool. You know what? The sad part is the Force Awakens probably killed his enjoyment of Star Wars because he was getting into it. And then he went to see that movie. Halfway through the movie, he wanted to go play video games in the lobby. He didn't give a shit about the movie anymore. He was done. He just didn't care. So like, again, kids they're not going to lie. They're not going to sit there and pretend. They don't give a shit. They're not going to put on some fake fucking shit for, just because a parent says you should like this. They might just for a little bit, just to appease the parent, but sooner or later, the truth is going to come through. They want what they want, and they're not going to, and Andre will tell you this with two young ones. When they want something, they tell you.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So I hear you there. Master Clockwork says, I remember when the race gender swap replacements hit the comic and failed. People said Marvel doesn't care. It just sets up future films. Oh yeah. Well, we knew then and there was even some people who even said that a lot of their motivation was to create a lot of these like characters in quotations. So then they can get their names on it. And then eventually it'll hopefully lead to a movie or a series or something like that. So like that's the payday. It's not about creating a character. It's not about making something new or something worthwhile. It's just about creating something that's a bridge to a big payday from, a movie or a TV show, basically. Unless anybody else has any thing to say about that.
You said better than I could.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think that sums it up pretty nicely.
Waltman 4 says, man, I'm being torn between watching Midnight's Edge and Nick Recader. I know, right? Nick Recader right now, but I hear you, man. It's some crazy shit going on over there.
Hey, but I can appreciate this. The fact of the matter. Thank you for that great super chat.
Yes.
And as a fan, I can tell you this much too: is that here's what I love about that super chat. You're not struggling between watching something crappy on TV that's trying to be shoved down your throat as a fan, and you actually can get original programming, whether it's Recada's channel or Midnight's Edge. Thank you very much for your support.
And I just got to say, Nick is doing an amazing job. And what it's showing to hopefully a lot of people is that they're sick and tired of the mainstream lies.
Yeah.
Because we've saw over last week, people shift from the mainstream media sources over to Nick Recada's channel.
Mm-hmm. It's Recada Law, right?
Yes. Yeah. In droves, no less. So now at this point, I haven't looked at the numbers today, but yesterday he was basically beating everybody else, and some of them by a long shot.
Oh yeah, it was beating the official streams.
That's what I mean. But like CNN and all them are just getting like
he got up to about 77,000.
Yeah, he's up to 77,000. He's actually giving PBS a run for their money. They were the
ones
that
had yesterday.
He was beating them yesterday.
Yeah,
and so like I hope he just keeps going. And to me, that shows that there's a tide turning between this and a few other things that are going on. People are saying enough is enough. We've had enough of the lies. We've had enough of the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your truth in quotation only goes so far, right? The truth matters, right? So it's going to start coming out, I think, and people are going to start to speak out about it. And you know, normies are waking up. People are starting to there's people who have never even heard the term woke in the last few years who are starting to hear it. There's people who are starting to notice these changes in their movies and television shows and not liking it. They knew they didn't like something about it, but now they know why, right? And it's because, you know, we've been trying to tell people for the last 3 or 4 years, but you know, you guys here, you knew this already. You're listening to us, but a lot of other people out there who didn't are starting to wake up. Nicholas Horton sends in £10. The animated gender swapped Rocketeer show. The little girl was Latina. Okay, I'm sorry. She was Latina. The actor from the 90s movie voiced her dad, and she was a great granddaughter of the original Rocketeer. Okay. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for correcting me. I just, I knew there was a cartoon. It wasn't made for me. And I didn't watch it. And I didn't pretend to. We got Fat Steven Seagal. Where's my $500? Says, hail to the intelligent panel and Tom. I see what you did there, and fuck you. Much respect. No. Gotta love Fat Steven. Let's see here. What do we have next? Paulus Plain again says, Andre on hair. Please scream. Oh, we got this one, didn't we?
But I don't know. He wasn't satisfied with
You can't really scream it though. It's
no, I can't, and also especially since my kids have gone to bed. So if I scream, my wife is going to out Viking me.
Basically, you'll sound like you're screaming arm because you can't go and put any behind it because it's noise. It's like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like it's basically physical onomatopoeia.
Unless you have a tongue that's silky smooth.
I can epically roll that R, saying but that's as epic as it's gonna be. So yeah, no more epic.
Otherwise, I'll give you the Kevin Sorbo version. Arm.
Oh no.
Disappointed.
No, that's not silky smooth at all.
There, Paris, you got your money's worth.
And Jaeger says, a friend works at Crystal Dynamics. The Avengers license dictates what characters developers can use. They had to use what they were told, or no Avengers game license. Ms. Marvel KK was pushed. Yeah, no, we know this totally. This is all Kevin Feige. That everything he's been doing for the last few years has been trying to cut off anybody who can get in his fucking way. And that is why he was going head to head with Chapek. And that is, I believe, why he said recently, I underestimated Chapek. Yeah. Because he thought he was going to go in there and muscle his way through this, and it didn't work out that way. I don't hear anybody disagreeing, so...
Yeah, nope. I'm in complete agreement.
And yeah, for better or for worse, that's where we're at right now. City Walk says, someone call for... I know who this is, too. Someone call for shitty pork, shitty beef, Ikeda. Goddamn Mongolians. He is one of my favorite South Park. I swear, I don't think I laughed so hard as I did the episode where they had him build a city wall.
That was one of the best South Park episodes ever.
Why is it every goddamn time one was Chinese man trying to build a city wall, you goddamn Mongolians got to try and come and knock it down. I'm going to pour a hot sweet sour on him. Oh, I love that episode. John Cream says, how many King Arthur movies have there been? That could be a contender compared to Cinderella. Yes, indeed. King Arthur is another one that they've done quite a few times. Same thing with Robin Hood. Mm-hmm. There's quite a few that have been adapted quite a few times. I don't remember where I read it, but it was basically The Christmas Carol has been adapted more times than any other piece of literature.
Really, more
between
than Dracula?
Television and I think so. Between television and movies, it has.
Yeah, maybe, of course, because like every single country,
like almost every year, you have an adaptation.
Yeah, not only that, but like almost every country in the world is going to do like their own little.
But I believe Dracula is second. Yes.
Yeah, I know that it's up there. It's up there.
John Cream says, "Oh yeah, we already got that one. My bad." But thank you, John Cream, for that. Revcore says, "No Surfshark. They dropped a guy for even less reason than Gina was dropped. A guy lied to them." And with no check, they dropped the guy lied about. I don't know anything about the situation. I know
a little bit about it. What I can say about it is that it wasn't that the company did a unified decision. It was one asshole in marketing that acted on his own behalf. You will find that Surfshark actually sponsors us and other channels who are quite based. Right. So that was a one-time war offense by someone in marketing that really messed up big time for them.
Are you saying they probably aren't working there anymore?
I don't know. I do not know any kind of inner workings. What I do know is that they were put in a position where they're like, oh fuck, we can't even say or do anything about this. So yeah. What I will say though is that we are quite based, and they've never had any issues with that.
Yeah, they see all our videos before they go.
Oh yeah. Or they reached out to us, knowing exactly where we stand.
Yeah, I was gonna say they reached out to us. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tennille89 says, "Is this what's called learned helplessness? I've heard of that, though I prefer to call it a cock up kiss game."
That's a good one.
That is a good one, Tennille.
Hey, I gotta roll, guys. I'll see you guys later. I gotta jump on a work call.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Yeah, take care.
I'll keep the couch warm for you.
Yes, sir.
All right, and then I know we had a few more here yet. Let's see here. What's next? Hopefully catching up soon, though. Because we've been going for 3.5 hours, kids. Trenchman says, Mexican Iron Man. Oh. He just laughed. Just laugh.
Sorry about that, Trenchman.
All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to take a screenshot of this right now. And I'm going to remember to ask him this on the next meet. Because we're going to do something the next day or two here, because I finally should be able to stream again here in the next day or two. So I promise, Trenchman, I will ask him that on the next meet, which hopefully will be in the next day or so. Right away in the beginning of the show. Promise. All right. Let's see here. What we got next? Douglas A. Burton says, Andre, have you heard any of the Dune soundtrack on Dune Sketchbook? I loved it. Long tracks of music.
Is it different from the original soundtrack? Because no, I have not heard anything from the Dune Sketchbook.
I see that was something he released. Yeah.
It's like another similar version of like the music from Dune, but if it's packaged in a different way or what, I don't know. But no, I haven't heard anything of the sketchbook. Maybe I can check it out. But,
I saw that, but I didn't know that's what it was. I just assumed it was the soundtrack. I didn't know it was anything different. Huh. Yeah. I'll look into that though.
Yeah, I'd be willing to listen.
Everyone is like saying it's totally different.
Really?
So okay, that's interesting.
All right.
Wait. There's before that. Darkness says there are 3 different scores for the. What the hell for?
It's not that hard to make. Thank you. I wasn't hitting that note. You know, maybe on the Blu-ray they'll have all 3 different scores. You can watch one with each version.
Well, so you can like go and you can pick your own score in
maybe.
With like you go onto the remote.
It wouldn't be the first movie with multiple scores.
You change the score as you would change like the audio track.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first movie with multiple scores.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that with this one.
Yeah. Well,
you don't have any.
I'll have to check it out.
Like Dracula, speaking of, has like multiple scores you can watch it with. Like they had the one that what was his name? Was it Glass or
which Dracula? We just established there are so incredibly many.
Yeah,
of
well,
them.
the Bela Lugosi one.
Okay.
Like in the what was it?
Well, with that one, you can even like you even have like a Latino version of it.
Well, so, that's a completely different one. But no, I mean like they even put on the new Blu-rays and DVDs and all that shit where I think Philip Glass did a soundtrack for it back in the 80s or 90s. Can't remember which. Maybe even late 70s. I can't remember which when they re-released it at some point. You can watch it with that. There's a couple other movies I have with alternate soundtracks. Oh yeah, that's not uncommon.
Okay. Oh well, interesting.
Even like just recently, I got Demons 1 and 2, and like for the first time, you can get all the different soundtracks. Like,
yeah, well, you will also recall
that's what I'm talking about.
Like also on the Mark of Sorrow, the original from 1920. Even there.
Well, there you go. Even Nosferatu also has multiple soundtracks on it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then Trenchman came in with another one and said Zemeckis is fixed with being rid of in real life. This may be. That could be the case, but you still got to work with them to do this shit. Right? And Anjay Blue says, I love that Babel. Yeah, the movie was cool. It just... Why? Why do it as that weird animated shit? Like, it felt weird. It just didn't look real to me. It was just like, am I watching a cartoon? Or am I watching something real? Too many times it kind of just crossed that line. But no, again, the movie was cool. It was fine with it, but it's just like, that was the last good movie he's done, in my opinion. But you still got to work with actors, Trenchman. So that don't make no sense to me. Anibaka then brings up the point that asks, is X-Men 97 going to be connected with the MCU? Will Marvel Studios actually be making projects separate from the MCU? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that specifically, Anibaka, but I'm going to guess that it's on its own. Because they
already are kind of with the What If series.
That's what I'm saying. Because like if this is picking up where the 92 series left off, they've had other iterations of characters we've seen pop up already in the X-Men universe from my memory. So, and I think they even do some crossover, I think with Spider-Man or something like that at one point, or something else. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I could have remembered a couple other characters popping up in that show, but I could be wrong. If not, I don't know. I don't think they're going to connect it with the MCU proper at all. I think it's just going to be a continuation from the original series. What do you guys think?
Probably. Yeah. It's not going to have, it'll have zero ties to the MCU proper, original series all the way.
If they do it right, yeah. Go ahead, Arm.
No, I agree.
That's it? Yes. Okay. All right. Revcore then says 90s Rogue, she had her original powers, but she held on to Captain Marvel so long she got those powers for good. Wasn't explained until later in the show. Yeah, I remember she got Captain Marvel's powers. I didn't even know they got to that far in the show. See, there you go.
Are we ever going to see a movie where Rogue is, featured more? Do you think?
Well, I would love for that to happen if like Rogue would go in and take Captain Marvel's powers. We never have to see Brie Larson again.
That would be great. That's a great idea.
Here's the other thing, though. In the 2000 movies, didn't Rogue kind of replace Jubilee though? Like,
yeah, she did.
Swap her character. Yeah, I was gonna say.
But Jubilee was actually still in several of those movies as like a background
character. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and she totally took over like Wolverine's relationship with her. Like
that's what I thought, because that's what I remember most from the 90s series. Because I remember going into that movie going, oh, wait, I remember this being this and that, because I vaguely remember the series, but like I didn't watch all of it. I only caught it here and there, because at that point when that series came out, you guys got to remember, I was just becoming a teenager. So like Saturday mornings were like once in a great while for me at that point. So unless there's something really, really, really I was into it. And the only reason I probably caught the X-Men is because it was on later, right? Like, so I was up by then, but like all the other stuff was over by then. So yeah, I know. Like my cutoff is right around that time because like I was not into Power Rangers, which also came out in 92. That was another one of mine that I was not in. And we got Yellow Flash in the chat at some point. I don't know if he's still around, but hello, sir. And I see Script Doctor hanging around as well, too. Too bad he couldn't be here. I know he's in the office. So there you go. Then we got one from Paulus Plain here again who says, Andre on here, my dude, you call yourself a Norwegian. Please scream with epic power. You can't do it. Dude, take my money. Well, he's getting your money anyway. But I don't know if you're going to get much more out of him.
Yeah, well, best I can do.
Yeah, I don't know what you can do other than record him saying that and amplify it.
Yeah, play it back really loud.
And thank you for the super chats.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh Lord. And I know Script. I wish he was here today because I know he knows a lot more about the X-Men stuff than I do too. Willie Woodward says, never saw X-Men cartoon because she wasn't born yet. Duh. She's 20-something. Hottie.
Thank you, Willie Woodward. How did you know?
He knows all. He's the flirt of all flirts.
I so appreciate it. Thank you.
He is a hell of a flirt. Now we're getting to the Monica Rambeau, which means we're getting close. We're getting close, kids. All right. And then we got Aiken, awesome, who says, even biblically, children are regarded as seers of what is just, right, and good. That's thousands of years of archetypical observation. Yeah, kids don't lie. They don't know. When it comes to certain things, it's not in them too. Like, I mean, yeah, a kid can fib when, they want certain things. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to when a kid likes or dislikes something, 9 times out of 10, it's hard for them to lie about that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I said to Andre, because you got young kids around. So
exactly.
You got to watch whatever damn show they want to watch, however many damn times they want to watch it, and
over and over again, till the tape breaks. But then, I guess that doesn't apply.
That doesn't apply anymore. You can't even play around and pretend. Oh, the power went out.
That's right.
They're too smart for that shit. City Walk comes again with another one. Thank you.
No, but you know what works? The TV is out of battery. Because a tablet needs battery.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But then they know that you could probably plug it in and watch it too. Don't tell them that. Anyway, we got No Shitty Shushi. Goddamn Mongolians. Thank you, Fat Steven. Not to dox you on that one, but I know it was you. That's not even really doxing anyway. Last Millennial says, Ashmo. How do you say that? Andre?
I have no idea.
Ashamalandre.
Why you sound so depressed?
Oh, because I'm trying to whisper because I don't want to wake up the kids in the room next to me. That's
no,
why.
I'm the one who's actually depressed. Tom and do you guys think there will be another Disney Marvel Day next year?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna advertise.
Why wouldn't there be?
They're going to advertise it like crazy, and we'll be here again talking about it. So certainly, we will.
You know what these
more.
are? This reminds me of when, like, you would do the networks when they would do their big fall announcements. That's exactly what this is, right? Like, sure, it's not technically. It's technically the fall, and it's like months normally after them what they would normally do it. But the streaming services schedule works differently than the network television. Is my point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all this is. This is the big, when they would do like a big rollout of this is what we've got coming this fall, on ABC, which is funny because it is pretty much ABC. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys had that there, Andre, but obviously Arm knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, absolutely. And you used to watch it because you wanted to see what was coming up.
Yeah.
We had no such thing to my awareness.
Yeah, because that's why you're dead inside.
Yeah.
Tennille89 says, thanks for saying so. Also, it makes me feel guilty like my Kurt Cobain joke on Toxic Femme the other day. Oh, no, we thought that was, we were just giving you shit. There's two things, especially if we give you shit, that usually means it's funny. Like, no, if we're serious about it, you'll know. Master Clockwork says, wasn't Jubilee a stand-in for Kitty Pryde anyway? You mean in the movies, or
I think you must mean in the comics.
Oh,
I don't know. I couldn't say. The X-Men comics were like
somebody in the chat might know.
Difficult to get into, weren't they? I'm sure someone in the chat knows, but yeah, I would imagine that what I think is that with
and then Luffy says no, Kitty is more like a little sister to Logan, and Jubilee is a daughter. There you go.
Thank you, okay. Luffy's God.
And we are caught up.
Brilliant. All right. Well, with that, we've gone on for almost 4 hours now. I know some people are anxious to get over to Rekieta, which is fine. I know Valiant.
FNT will be starting for too long.
Culture Casino is on now as well, I think. And Tom, if you want to see Rocky 4 in the new version,
I don't know if I'm gonna have time. I don't know if I'm gonna have time. I might have to wait till this weekend. We'll see, because I think FNT will be starting before too long here. But here's the link for Culture stream. Go head on over there and raid his stream. If you're not gonna head on over to Rekieta anyway, if you go either place you go, tell him we said hello. And thank you so much for being here today. We always love to have you on the panel.
Well, thank you for having me.
Is there anything coming up you want to plug real quick?
Well, I did start my own YouTube channel.
Cool. You have to put the link in the description here, and I'll put it in the show description.
Thank you. I will. It's called Positive Fandom.
Positive Fandom.
What are you doing here?
What do you mean?
I'm the most negative human being there is, according to the chat.
I like to hear differing views, Tom. You know that by now.
I fucking hate everything.
Yeah, but I get bored. I get very bored if I keep hearing that the people who I'm around like everything I like. It's an unrealistic expectation, and I don't like it. I like to hear differing views.
I do not hate everything, but like that's the common belief.
I think you have your own views, and that you're entitled to have your own views.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, a lot of the stuff I enjoy, I know most people don't, so I don't usually push a lot of my stuff on people, so whatever. So Paulus Plain has another one who says, I feel for you. Andre is broken. Ha ha ha. Take my money. You broke Andre, yes. He can't do it. You just can't do that. You can't scream. Can you?
No, there are many things in this world you can't scream, but this is not one of them.
Right.
You can make that noise, but you sure can't scream it.
That is true.
You chose it on purpose that way. That's right, Sadie.
Yes, that is exactly why I chose it. Yes.
And with that, so also check out the Mmmmm Network. You pop up from time to time there as well. And I believe you also have a show or two there.
Yes. And I've also been streaming with Lorraine recently.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And we're revisiting Masters of the Universe, as you may be aware.
I do pop in and join in on the festivities, yes, once in a while.
Yes. And I'm also on another show on the 6 Scale Man Network called Uncivilized Scoundrels, which is every other Thursday, and we talk Star Wars.
Excellent.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
So with that, let us wrap things up, Andre, unless there's anything you had to plug or talk about beforehand. Were we going to do a member stream at all this weekend, possibly, or?
Well, we'll see. We have to come up with a regular schedule still here, so we'll see what the weekend brings.
Yes.
But I think that the two of us, that we are due on some other stream tomorrow, are we not?
Are we?
Yeah, I know that we have. And I know that.
I think that's next week.
Next week we are with Sporking, but I think we have another one tomorrow. That there are 2 different streams, not one.
I'll have to double check on that. Mega J said, "Good show, guys." I can't agree. I think we did a horrible job, at least myself. But I'm my own worst critic. But did amazing, and so did Valiant Renegade, and of course Culture Casino, and Mike as always, and Andre. But myself, no. This is one of my worst shows ever, and I should be banished from YouTube. No, I'm kidding. At least I hope I am.
You're just kidding. Don't be so harsh on yourself.
All right, we got our Mmm's channel here. I'm going to share the link in the chat as well, as Andre is going to place it in the description for those who are watching later.
Already done.
It's already done. See? And then Tom, myself, what is Tom? Tom is a Ninja. Yeah, I am a Ninja Turtle fan. That's one of the things I'm into. But yeah. So with that, we're gonna wrap things up here. Have a great weekend. See you later on Friday Night Tights probably. And yeah, it's time for some koalas in the rain, I guess. What do you say? Did we forget?
Sounds like a plan.
I don't think.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala, koala.